All right, are we good? Are we live? I think we are. Hello all and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat Live. It's great to be back with live WSL action as we return for game week 20 of the WSL season. Manchester City can be crowned champions this week, but they have to win today, and then there's ramifications throughout this week to becoming champions for the first time in almost a decade now. So, big moment for Manchester City, Harry. This is an important step on that path, though, and Brighton gave them a really good game earlier in the season, so it should be a great matchup today.
Yeah, I think I'm expecting a very good contest, as you say. Brighton have proved across the season, across the last two seasons, they've got what it takes to give the best sides in the league a go. But yeah, Manchester City, they've done the hard work now. They've been top of the league for the majority of the season. They've battled well for 19 match weeks, only 3 to go. 2 wins will see them champions. So they've put all the work in, but they've got to make sure they see it out. It's very likely theirs now, but until that final whistle blows in match week 22, Andre Eglerts will want his side to know that it's not over yet. But yeah, a win today could wrap it up a little bit earlier, which would just take that pressure off, and then they can celebrate what has been a phenomenal season.
Yeah, I think a lot of the discourse rightfully will be around City today. Obviously, that chance of sealing the title later this week. But I want to start by talking about Brighton, because I think they've quietly gone about quite a decent season, building on what was very positive last season under Dario Vidosic, where they started so quickly. This season they started a little bit slower, but they're really starting to come into form at the right time now.
Yeah, they've had a really good run of it. I think they've only lost 1 of their last 5 in all competitions. Their league form was they took 3 losses on a row in the last 5. So their league form wasn't great, but their FA Cup was superb. Obviously, the win against Arsenal before the international break was a massive scalp, and that game shows exactly the kind of quality that they possess. But yeah, they've looked really good in all competitions since the turn of the year, really, and I think that, as you say, because of the blistering start last season, this campaign being a bit more average across the board looks slightly worse, but still, they've got the opportunity to end up in a really strong position.
And I think a big part of Brighton's struggles has been a lack of a goal scorer, a creator, someone in the final third to be a difference maker. But Frank Kirby back in the side, how important is that for the Seagulls?
No, absolutely crucial. Since her return, she's picked up right where she left off before she was injured, and again has enjoyed some good form, was brilliant in that Arsenal game. And I think that we know Frank Kirby has still got the ability to play for some of the top sides in this division. So, she didn't win 7 WSL titles by being average. She's a phenomenal player, and I think that the fact she can still deliver those levels in a Brighton shirt is very, very important for them. And yeah, since she's returned, it's been a massive boost. And it's not only Fran Kirby's not only a player that brings quality in her own right, but she also raises the game of players around her. And I think that we have seen that since she returned a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, you mentioned there, Brighton, obviously they want to finish top half now in the season, and they've got a really good record against top clubs, but they've got to play a lot of them to end the season. Man City this week, United next week, Arsenal in the midweek after that, then they've got Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final, and then Tottenham on the final day. No opponent they've got to play yet is outside, in the league, is outside of the top half. So everyone's above them in the table. That's going to be very difficult, but they are quite good against top sides. They set up well because they are very good at pressing. They're very good at transitioning very quickly. And so they are set up to play against these sides, but there's obviously no doubting how big a test this will be today. Let's take a look then at the lineups ahead of this, and we'll start with the home side, Brighton. In goal, Chiamaka Enadozie keeps her place. She's been fantastic this season for Brighton. Is in a back 4 of Rule, Minami, Hayes and Venegas. Obviously, back 4 in defence. But that was it's very similar to what they did, or it looked like a back 3 against Arsenal, occasionally transformed to a back 4. Very interesting to see how that worked. So could be Minami, Hayes, Venegas back 3. Raul Norris Lagers then in the wing back positions, a midfield pivot of Kankovic and Simmons, and a front line of Haley, Kirby and Kiko Seike. Lots to like about that Brighton team then. We saw how well disciplined, how regimented they were against Arsenal. They moved the ball really effectively. For 90 minutes, they were the better side on that day. How do they take what they did there and apply it into this game against Man City?
Yeah, I mean, on the most part, they'll be trying to replicate it. They've got to be defensively solid. They cannot allow City to play through them, and that is easier said than done because City are very good at that. But I think the main area is going to come Brighton on the ball. Brighton in that FA Cup game was so good at playing through Arsenal, getting the ball down, moving it quickly, and turning it from back to front in a matter of seconds and putting Arsenal under pressure. You can't do that as easily against Man City. They have been ridiculously strong out of possession this season. They consistently turn the ball over in the opposition's final third and put them in in a spot of bother. And that's what Brighton have got to be wary of today, is that they cannot afford to just gift City opportunities by losing the ball in and around their own penalty area. They were really secure in possession against Arsenal. As I say, that City press is a different kettle of fish, and Vidosic has got to plan for that. They've got to balance the risk versus the reward, and I think in this game against a side like City, they've got to be a bit more direct, because if not, they're just going to end up playing themselves into trouble.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think they've got to. I think it will help the fact that there's no moving on the medium half Man City, as we'll get to in a moment, because I think a lot of the time this season, City have been able to play out of trouble by going long, and of course, Khadija Shaw's still going to hold the ball. I'm not doubting that for a moment, but having those two up there makes it much more difficult to deal with that ball. So I do think that helps them somewhat, but they've still got to deal with so much threat from Manchester City, as we'll get to, such a talented City side. So they've got to be very defensive disciplined. But yeah, I think there is the same weaknesses we saw against Arsenal in terms of defensive frailties are similar, I think, for Man City. City are quite, I think, open on transitional moments, and if Brighton can move the ball quickly, they've got pace in the front line to sting City. So that's something they've got to try and target today. But I think it's going to be a lot more difficult. City, that was a very heavily rotated Arsenal side. This is a full-strength City side who want to go out, want to claim this title really with a bang. So yeah, I don't think it will be quite as easy as they found that game at Meadow Park. Let's take a look then at the City side then. Slight change, obviously, to the midfield today, as we'll get to. But in goal, it's Ayaka Yamashita. A back four of Kasbright, Rose, Nat and Greenwood. No changes to that strong back four. In the midfield pivot, it's Hasegawa alongside Blinkilde Brown, Sam Coffey dropping out of the side. On one wing for Gino, on the other, Lauren Hemp. Carolyn then in the 10 role, and Shaw up front. So it'll be interesting to see what that midfield composition looks like, because we've obviously seen them use Coffey a lot more recently. Miedemar's played practically every game, and Carolyn's a very different profile to Miedemar. How do you expect that to function if it is Carolyn or if it is Fagino in there?
I think that Miedemar is obviously a big miss, and Carolyn doesn't give you the same physical presence. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how Carolyn gets on today, because we know Carolyn is very much a direct player. She was superb in the Chelsea game because of the space that she had to get in behind, use her pace, use her ability to play off the shoulder and cause teams problems. Brighton aren't going to play that high. They're going to sit a little bit deeper, and you just wonder if Carolyn's going to get that space, which is why we could see Fagino come into the 10. And again, you're not having that physical presence, but she's very good in tight spaces and can get the ball down and move it very nicely. So it will be interesting to see if Carolyn does play there, how she gets on. I think the pivot, Coffey drops out, but still Blinkilde Brown is a top part of this Manchester City side, and her and Hasegawa built a formidable partnership before Sam Coffey came in, so haven't got any issues with that. But yeah, the big one is Miedemar missing, and it'll be very interesting to see how Carolyn gets on in that 10 role.
I also think Blinkilde Brown to be really important. I think when I analysed in detail the game earlier in the season, and what worked really nicely in that midfield was the energy it had, and I think the ability for either Hasegawa or Blinkilde to push up, and their ability to be quite a fluid midfield partnership worked really nicely, and I think we'll see that built upon again today. It's probably why we've seen Blinkilde Brown preferred in that role. Coffey not in the squad, though, so it could be a slight doubt there. I don't know if she picked up an injury on international duty. But I think Blinkilde Brown is a smart pick for this game anyway, because I think she's going to give you more energy, a little bit more mobile than Sam Coffey. You're not going to be able to control the game in the same way that City would like to. I think it's going to be a bit more of an end-to-end game, so having midfielders who can cover those hard yards better, I think is actually a better fit for this kind of game. A couple of questions then in the live chat, so let's dive into those before we get to the live game. Kevin's saying, Bunny Short to Chelsea, any truth in that rumour? Don't have any sources on this. What I would say is it was reported by The Athletic last night. I think this is either a case of Chelsea are seeing a player who is out of contract and that hasn't been signed yet and have put a bid in, and that that is what's been reported, and that could absolutely be true. The other option is that it's Khadija Shaw's agency telling these outlets that there's this bid to try and encourage Man City to pay more to Bunny Shaw. I think that's the more realistic of the two. If it's the first, I think it reflects really poorly on Man City, because there is that interest from Chelsea. There is the possibility of it happening. I'd expect it's the latter. I think Chelsea would love to have Khadija Shaw, of course, but I think they'll realistically see that they may not have even made an offer. I reckon it's agent talk to try and push City. So I wouldn't expect anything to happen. If it does happen, obviously it's the best signing possible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Khadija Shaw is a phenomenal player, and if Chelsea can somehow manage to convince her to sign, then that is a groundbreaking deal, and that would shift the league title next season potentially massively. But Yeah, I think that it's all a bit of games, isn't it? Agents like to stir up a bit of fuss and try and get better deals for their players, and I think that this is probably just another tactic to force City's hand a little bit.
Yeah, Phil saying I think it's a bit of both. Everybody interested, Bunny agent boosting the price. Yeah, I think if it was Chelsea making the offer, the Athletic wouldn't know about it. I think because why would Chelsea like that? It would only be from Shaw's angle that there would be that incentive to leak it. So I think it's come from the agent. It's whether or not the bid is actually there or not. But yeah, I don't see it leaving Manchester City. They're going to win the WSL title this season. I don't think. I mean, maybe if this was like a couple of years ago, then she'd look at that Chelsea project and say that's close to the Champions League. But if we're looking at just next season, I mean, Shaw's 29 now, I want to say something like that. 29, nailed it. I think City are closer right now than Chelsea to a Champions League title. If we look at next season, just next season, which side are more likely to win the Champions League? It has to be Manchester City. So I don't see the incentive for Shaw to leave, to join Chelsea. The only thing that I could see is if the NWSL offering her a ridiculous amount of money, and she decides that she wants to go to the NWSL. That is the only way. It's happy with one WSL title, but I don't see her leaving Manchester City this summer. Of course, I'd love to see her at Chelsea. I'm not going to hide, I'm not going to shy away from that fact, but I don't think it's going to happen. But you never know. Football can be weird and wonderful sometimes. We never would have thought Viviana Miedema would join Manchester City, and she did. So there's always the opportunity for something crazy to happen. Great to see so much chat in the live stream, but let's get into predictions ahead of this one then. If you're watching along, let us know your scoreline prediction in the live chat. We're going to get things started here in the studio as always. And Harry, you can get us started. Brighton taking on Man City. What is your prediction?
I think it'll be a good contest. As I say, Brighton gave City a great game at the Joey earlier in the season, but Manchester City, they're nearly there now. They know what they need to do, and I don't see them dropping the ball or any complacency creeping in this one. I think it'll be business as usual for Jeglerts and his side. I will say Manchester City 2, Brighton 0. I still think it'll be a very strong performance from the Seagulls, but City's quality will just be too strong. I will go for a Khadija Shaw goal in the first half and then a goal in the second half from Ayuba Fajino.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to go a bit tighter. I'm going to say 2-1 Manchester City. I think it's going to be a last-minute winner for City. I just think their form's been really weird recently for me because they've had some huge results like beating Manchester United and beating Tottenham, but I thought both those sides were very low on their best players, very rotated squads, and they absolutely pulled them apart perfectly. But they also drew with Aston Villa. They also only narrowly beat Birmingham, and I think you make an argument there that Birmingham could have got something. So yeah, I think it's been a little bit up and down recently. They're at the point now they just need to get over the line.
Yeah.
And I think Brighton will make it really difficult for them today, but I think they will find a way eventually. It's what champions do. I think they'll show themselves befitting of that title today. So I'm going to say 2-1. I think City will open the scoring, mirroring the game earlier in the season. Obviously, Brighton scored first, but I think City will open the scoring through, I'm going to say Khadija Shaw. I mean, she's just been in incredible form. It's going to be Khadija Shaw. I will then say Brighton will find a goal through Fran Kirby. I think she's the only player in that Brighton attack, maybe Kiko Seko as well, who are capable of scoring at the moment. There seems to be a lot of wastefulness in that front line, but they have got Kirby, they have got Seke, so they've got a bit of threat now. But I think City will then need a last-minute winner. I'm going to say Rebecca Knack from a corner, heads it home, and City get over the line, get the win, and then all eyes turn towards Leicester on Wednesday to see if they can win the title for Man City.
Yeah, it's exactly what City need to do, and those kind of results do creep in when you play at 110% as champions for the whole season. There will be games where you don't find that level, and you do have to dig a performance out of nowhere. It's what Chelsea have done best, especially under Emma Hayes, where they would be down and out, but they'd find a way to get a result, and they even did it when they won the title last season. There were some games where they were second best, but they got results. And City haven't had as many of those, but there has been a couple, and there probably will. Games like this are games where Brighton will have chances. Brighton will have spells where they are better, and City will just have to ride that out and make sure they get the result. Right now, performances aren't the main concern. Get 3 points on the board, and as you say, put the pressure on Arsenal to go and win on Wednesday to take it to next weekend. Jeglerts, it's in their hands. 2 wins is all they need. Make sure today, though, that there isn't a silly slip-up that could invite a bit of controversy into the last couple of matches.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get into all the predictions in the live chat in just a moment. We're about to get underway here at the Broadfield Stadium. It's Madison Haley from the middle for Brighton, looking to get us underway as Dario Vidosic returns after a way too long international break. It's Haley, the American from the middle. And, well, the referee is nowhere to be seen. Still sorting something out. And now we can get underway in this game. Haley knocks it back. We're underway in this contest. It's Brighton taking on Manchester City in match week 20 of the WSL season. And that's a poor pass back. Shaw into score immediately. Enadozi stops it for Gino. It's blocked wide. And already Man City with a great chance to take the lead, but not able to capitalise.
Wow, really poor from Brighton. Very slow to start, and it's a terrible, terrible back pass from Minami. Doesn't put anywhere near enough on it towards Enadozi. Allows Shaw to get in, and it's a really good piece of goalkeeping from Enadozi initially to take the ball off Shaw, and then the block from Hayes, I think it was, to stop Virgino's effort. But a massive scare early doors for Brighton. Cannot make errors like that against Manchester City.
Way too casual. Way too casual. Ball slipped through the lines again. Minami cutting it out. And Hayes now can get it clear. Rose stepping up onto the ball. Haley dropping in to receive it. Now Kankovic back to Venegas. That will give us an opportunity to look at some of the predictions in the live chat. Jeremy going 3-2 Man City. GT, it's saying 3-1 Man City. Lots of Man City predictions coming in. In fact, Zato going 3-1 City as well. And Bench wants a very similar prediction to mine, going 2-1 Man City in an unconvincing win. Thank you everyone for getting involved in that. But yeah, frantic first 10 seconds really there for Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Dario Vidosic, you must be furious to see that happen. You've just had the warm-up, you've given them all the tactical instruction, all the game plan, and it nearly went out the window inside 10 seconds.
Gino poking it forwards, cut out well by Minami, and that's a flick from Kankovic, which is picked off high here by Hasegawa. Hemp inside, Blinkilda Brown poking it through for Gino now. Spins out of pressure. Can she find Kasper on the overlap? Ball into the area. And Enadozi off her line well to claim it. And it just felt there was too many players in one area there for Manchester City. It all got very congested. They still found a way to get the ball in the box. Enadozi with a comfortable play.
Yeah, chaotic to start.
Khadija Shaw wins it high and just about Brighton get away with that. Enadozi takes too long on the ball. Shaw presses and deflects it across to Venegas, and City turn over the ball pretty quickly. Brighton have got to be sharper in possession. If not, they're going to keep giving the ball away, and eventually City will punish that. Rose down the right-hand side. Kasper holding the width nicely. A pass inside now to Virgino. In the pocket, Kasper back towards Virgino. Loses out in there to Simmons, and Brighton could play forwards now. Venegas into Kirby. Round the corner nicely. And now it's with Rule. Inside to Simmons. Receives on the back foot and turns. Here's Minami. Great pass out wide for Kasper. Cutting it out intelligently. And now for Gino. Plays inside. Hasegawa. Bouncing it off Carolyn and back to Hasegawa. Here is Greenwood. And now Knack finds Rose. Here's Blinkilda Brown. And Hasegawa playing forwards into Virgino. Great hold up from the wide player. Knocks it down the line. Kasper lifts it into the area. Nodded on. Poked goalwards by Carolyn. Cleared away as far as the edge of the area. Here's Hasegawa now. Lays it to Greenwood, who lets fly. And that heading out of the Broadfield Stadium.
Yeah. Bit overhit there by Greenwood, but a lovely move from Manchester City, moving the ball really nicely. And Brighton just couldn't seem to get near it. It's a good ball in from Kasper. And I think Carolyn's effort at the back post might have ended up being blocked by her own teammate in there. Yeah, I think it was Hemp who actually got in front of Carolyn's effort. But yeah, the eventual shot from Greenwood, very high and very wide. But good start by Manchester City. Exactly what they need to do. Start quick, try and get on top of Brighton early, and try and get a goal in these opening encounters.
That's turned over high again for Gino. Lays it into Khadija Shaw, but a touch is heavy. Hayes clears only as far as Carolyn, and she finds the back of the net, and it was coming for Manchester City. Brighton are so sloppy playing out from the back at the moment. City keep turning it over, and eventually they are rewarded. The pass across to Shaw. Shaw couldn't keep it under her control, but Carolyn on hand to sweep it up and finds the back of the net. But Brighton have got to wake up in this game. Too slow playing out from back, too many errors, and City were always going to punish it eventually.
Yeah, again, we said it was massive that they were really good on the ball against Arsenal, but it's a different kettle of fish when you're up against a City press and they just cannot handle it. at the moment. Way too many sloppy passes, losing the ball way too easily in their own penalty area. And even when they win it back here, Caitlin Hayes can only poke it straight to Carolyn. There's not enough on that clearance at all. And yeah, it's a nice finish from Carolyn. Takes a bit of a deflection, but does well to find the back of the net. But Brighton all over the place to start with, and City's press causing them all kinds of problems.
Well, exactly. I think it's easy to attribute this to Brighton making mistakes, but that's a discredit to how effective this City press is and how effective the Brighton press is here as they win it high. Haley tries to poke it forwards. Hasegawa getting caught out in a rogue moment. But this shows how good Brighton are at pressing as well. The problem is they haven't had an opportunity to do it yet. Yeah. They've been under so much pressure themselves. But City are so good at swarming in central areas and forcing those errors. That was a pass into Simmons, but Carolyn was on her back, turned the ball over by reacting quicker, and was able then to create that moment. It should have been a little bit more clean, arguably. Yeah. I think City made a bit of a mess of it, but it was swept up eventually. But yeah, they've just such effective pressing from City, and Brighton, I think, have got to learn when to send it long. Ball played forwards now. Here's Haley looking for support. Has options in the box. Looks to lift it towards the far post, and Greenwood heading it away without issue. Now City will look to turn the tide. Hemp knocking it past Roll and burst past her. Brilliant stuff from Lauren Hemp. Can she find a ball now into the area? Lifting it towards Shaw, who checks it down brilliantly. Takes save. It's off the post. And that really should be 2-0 Man City. A lovely move down the left-hand side. Khadija Shaw's effort coming off the post. Again, really nice from Manchester City. Superb from Lauren Hemp down that left-hand side. Spins Rule too easily. And then this pass into Shaw is pure class from Hemp. Picks her out perfectly. The chest control is good from Shaw. Tries to just poke it past Endozi at the near post. But yeah, off the post and away from goal, and didn't quite fall for Fujino either. But again, Shaw tries to be too cute with that. I don't think she needs to be. Yeah. I think she can just open up and hit a cross goal there. Because there's so much of the goal to aim for. Blinkilda Brown lifting it into the area. She tries instead to squeeze it towards the front post, which I think narrowed that angle quite a lot. Hemp. Greenwood back to Lauren Hemp. Wants to take on Charlize Rule and does so. Good ball in the area. And that's good goal kicking from Enadozi. Comes out strong and confidently. And now finds Haley. And Haley turning away from Hasegawa well as Oleslagers out wide and uses her effectively. Oleslagers looking for support. And will be forced backwards now. Venegas. Back to Minami. Well, any rumours that City had started title celebrations prematurely have been forgotten. They are 100% on their game here. Yeah, it's exactly what we've seen with City throughout this season. Kirby. Now to Kankovic. Finds Kirby. Holds it up well. That's a great pass out wide. Here's Seike. So many players in the box. Finds Kirby again. It's a great stop from Ayaka Yamashita. A lovely move from Brighton. Kirby, the architect, and in fact the player who had the shot in the end. A lovely move. And unlucky there not to find the back of the net. A fantastic stop from Ayaka Yamashita. Yeah, brilliant reactions from Yamashita in the City net. It's a lovely move from Brighton. The pass from Kirby to Seike is pure quality. And then she doesn't do much wrong with the finish. Looks to just blast it at the near post. But that is a superb save from Yamashita to get her hand up and stop it and then to claim it on the second try. Brilliant reflexes. Especially the deflection there from Rose actually makes it a little bit more difficult to deal with the spin on the ball. But yeah, Greenwood, I think, just doesn't deal with Kiko Seike out wide there. And that is perhaps one of the weaknesses of having Greenwood in that kind of role, is that she is a centre-back by trade. So defending wide spaces can be a bit of an issue at times. And there, I think, yeah, just beaten too easily, really. Minami battling away here is Oleslagers, flicking it back to Mweka Minami, who's going to try and play it to Venegas, but it's picked off again by Fujino. Oleslagers battles for it. Kasparov flicking it in the air, and it's turned over well by Brighton. Venegas. Now Minami. Hayes. That pass down the line, knocked out of play. Lloyd's saying, Zayton's saying, I wonder why Haley never gets called up for the US. Yeah, well, I think she has a game like this once or twice every season. And then the rest of the season just doesn't look on it. Today, she's, had a great first 8 minutes. And she's very capable of having these moments where, she's holding the ball up well, she's spinning in behind, she's finding space to break into. Yeah, I think she's fantastic at those kind of things. But then she also has games where she struggles to get involved, doesn't really get enough touches, doesn't really get enough shots away. And I think ultimately her contributions just aren't there. I mean, so far this season, she's probably been their starting attacker for most games, and she's got 1 goal, 3 assists. It's simply not enough in 18 WSL matches.
Yeah,
of which she started 13, so over 1,000 minutes, 1 goal. Ball played in behind, and Venegas here is going to get caught out for Gino. Picking the ball up well, wants to take on Venegas. Venegas does well there, just use her physicality to force Gino off the ball, but does actually touch it on its way through. It will be a Man City throw-in.
Yeah, I think it's an issue that Brighton have across the squad. It's the consistency of individual performances. I think Minami's another player who today, in the first 10 minutes here, has had a bit of a shocker, to be honest. Keeps giving the ball away. And again, Brighton are giving it away.
Ball played across, and it's won back in there well by Kankovic. He's going to punt it clear. Here's for Gino.
But yeah, they've got rid of, I think Minami has had some brilliant performances this season, but has also, like today, had some shockers. And I think it's just across the squad. Bar players like Fran Kirby and Simmons, they've got too many in there who, as individuals, sometimes they're brilliant, and that's why they want to play them and start them. But sometimes they really struggle, and it's very hard to try and find that consistency and I think that sums up their inconsistency of results across the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. A bit of a question around big chances missed. Obviously, Khadija Shaw missing a chance there. Phil saying all the best strikers miss the most chances. They're the best. They know how to get the chances. I think big chances missed is a bit of a misleading statistic because one, big chances are quite subjective in how they are measured, and 2, I think that big teams create lots of big chances, or teams that play transitional football tend to create more chances. If you look at the teams at the top of the list this season in terms of big chances of players, it's Khadija Shaw, Isabel Goodwin, and Stina Blacksenis. 3 players who all like to play off the shoulder. So they're naturally going to get in positions where they are one-on-one with the goalkeeper, which is like always a big chance.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily always a great opportunity, because it could be that there's lots of factors that go into those kind of situations. So it's very subjective. What I prefer to look at is conversion rate. I think when you look at those big 3, those top 3, Khadija Shaw's is 17%. Stina Blacksenis is 17.1%. Both very clinical strikers, whereas Isabel Goodwin is only at 10%. And so that's where perhaps look at she's missing too many chances. So I think it's important. I mean, with statistics, you can't just look at one statistic and make a judgment on a player. You have to look at loads of them. But I think in terms of one that is more telling, I think a percentage of conversion rate is better. Ball into a good area and Anadozi making a good stop. Because I think, obviously Cassie Hansen's been incredible this season, but she's not going to maintain a 22% conversion rate.
Wow.
She's only missed 5 big chances this season. She's not had many.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not sustainable. But yeah, Khadija Shaw, obviously the best striker in the world. I don't think that's really up for debate. I saw it was being discussed on an England podcast whether it's Alessia Russo. It's not. It's Khadija Shaw. But yeah. Knack into Yui Hasegawa. Hasegawa looks wide and finds Greenwood. That's a great win. Heart of the pitch by Rule, and it's squeezed forwards by Simmons. Kirby. Back to Simmons, who lifts it forward looking for Rule, and Rule too aggressive in her attempts to hold on to possession there, and Hasegawa being held by the neck.
Yeah, I think it was the shirt.
I think it was a collar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She just pulled her back there, because obviously that City kit does have a collar.
I think it looked initially like it was the hair, but I think it was just the collar. We'll get a look at it here. Yeah. I'll tell you what, you've got to be careful grabbing players' necks and throwing them on the floor. Very aggressive.
I think it looks worse when you slow it down, because they're both moving that direction anyway. But yeah, no, it's just a bit clumsy from Charlie's Rule there. Trying to hold Hasegawa off, but because of that height difference, ends up pushing down her head rather than sort of on her back or on her chest.
Yeah. Fortunate to not get booked.
Yeah, I think that could have been a yellow.
And she did. Yeah, that's fair.
There we go.
Yeah.
Not so fortunate anymore. City playing forwards now, and they're going to look long, and it's headed on well by Hemp. Here's Greenwood. Into Hemp, and the flag does it go up? No, it doesn't. Here is Carolyn. The referee took a whistle to her mouth twice there. So I'm not really sure how that can be a subjective opinion. I think she was waiting for the flag that never came.
Yeah. It looked.
Miles off.
Yeah, I think even Lauren Hemp thought she was offside. Bit of a weird one, but yeah, it's been a weird 15 minutes. I think this 15 minutes is exactly what Brighton's season has been. There's been moments of brilliance and moments of quality. Yes, they've only had one shot, but that was a brilliant chance and really well crafted. And they've had passages where they've looked good on the ball, but in and around that has just been absolute chaos. And obviously the conceding early on. And I think that it's really bizarre to see a side for half a for moments look brilliant, and then in the other moments look miles away from the standard.
Yeah, I think Brighton are a couple players away from being consistent top 5 challengers. The fear is I just don't see them having the investment. Look at what Liverpool have done in terms of their investment in the last transfer window, in terms of the fact they've already signed Vivian Enderman, which we've not even got to summer transfer window, and I've already got my big signing to watch for next season sorted. I'm ready to go with that video. So yeah, I think I think that's the problem for Brighton. Is the investment there? They spent a lot on the new stadium, which I don't think is necessary. They're building a specific stadium just for their women's team, or at least they're planning to. I don't know how far along they are in those plans, but is that necessary at this moment, or would it make more sense for them just to play at the Amex?
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Venegas sending the ball forwards, cut out well by Rose, and now for Gino. And I wonder if that is then impacting their ability, because we've seen them go for a lot of free transfers over the last few years.
Yeah.
You'd imagine they'll be dipping into the free market once again. Is it impacting their ability to go and recruit top talent on the pitch? Minami, Kankovic, pass out wide into Venegas. Laura asking, is Payor better than Shaw? No, I don't think so. I think it's really difficult to judge across leagues, because I think the standard of the league are F. I think when you think about like the European Golden Shoe, I'm not sure we even have it in the women's game yet. But in the men's game, you have it based on coefficient, and the top leagues, their goals count for 1, and then other leagues count for like 1.5 or a half a goal.
Yeah.
Sorry, the top leagues count for 2, and then 1.5, and then 1 goal. So I don't think the league are F is the same quality as the WSL.
No.
I value players that can perform in the WSL and the NWSL a lot higher than players that perform in the Liga F. I think Payor's brilliant. We've seen that in the Champions League. She's definitely in that conversation. But it's so difficult to prove across different leagues, especially when like Shaw hasn't been playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Brighton building up once again. Here's Enadozi. Knocking the ball forwards. Haley trying to bring it down, battling away, and Carolyn winning back possession, slips it through the lines, and Minami turns the ball over. Now Venegas. Venegas knocked down there by Fagino, does well to win a free kick because it wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah, just quite smart there, Venegas. I mean, and again, they've given it away from their short free kick.
Then Kilda Brown knocks it back to Carolyn. And now it's Rebecca Knack, who's going to take a shot from range and almost putting another one out of the Broadfield Stadium there, but it strikes the top of the stand, and that will be a goal kick.
Yeah, Brighton won't mind City's defenders stepping up and having shots that nearly exit the stadium, but something's got to shift. Too many times they're giving the ball away. Venegas is really smart, wins the free kick in the corner, a little bit soft, but does well to win it off Fagino, and you think that just takes the pressure off. But it doesn't, because they play it quickly, play a 2-yard pass and give it away.
I think it's a good testament, though, that they are able to do that and not concede every time. There's a great intensity in recovery. And, I mean, they shouldn't be giving the ball away in the first place. I'm not doubting that for a second. But we're seeing a really strong counter press. Peter Shaw there, I think, has done well to buy a free kick, because that was not a particularly high foot from Charlie's Rule. And, well, obviously on that yellow card, he's on a bit of a tightrope there. Referee will just have a word with her, I think, on this occasion. For all making her grievances known. Well, that was a little bit harsh.
Yeah, I don't think there's any contact. If anything, I thought she might have caught her with the knee on the way down. Here we go. We're going to get a replay of it. So was there anything in it? Oh, no.
It's one of those where it looks like it's a high foot that's hit her face. And I think Shaw does really well to buy it. I don't think there's anything in that.
No, I don't think she got remotely high enough.
Shaw plays it through. Here's a chance for Lauren Hemp, and she's put it wide. And I'm not really sure how. A great position for Hemp. And that really should have seen the net bulge, and the flag is up to spare her blushes. Wouldn't have stood either way.
Yeah, that's a big miss.
But that's a great opportunity for City. And Shaw had gone early. Great call from the assistant referee. And yeah, just tried again. I think with similar to the Shaw one a few moments ago, they're trying to be too precise with these shots.
Yeah.
And they're just missing at the front post. Header forwards from Hemp. Hayes nodding it inside. Hankovic heading it down. Now Seike into Kirby. This is lovely football from Brighton. Dispossessed well, though, by Kirsten Kasparov. Here's for Gino. Venegas forcing her backwards and all the way back to Ayaka Yamashita.
That's good from Venegas. Doesn't step up and just commit a foul. It's aggressive, it's assertive, but it's on the right line of the law.
It's all down to the system, though, because she's got that freedom to press up, knowing that players will cover her.
Yeah.
And yeah, really effective counter press. Puts the pressure on Virginia, forces the ball back, and Brighton now in possession. Here's Minami. Stepping forwards with possession here, the centre half, slipping it forwards into Simmons, who bounces it back to Venegas. Venegas lifting it inside. I'm not entirely sure who her intended target was there. Wide now with Nak. Here's Hasegawa. Back to Rose.
Just incredible how comfortable Yui Hasegawa looks, even though she's getting, hassled down by Haley.
Here is Carolyn. Rose. Back to Yamashita. And City. Looking to go a bit more direct now. Ayaka Yamashita pinning that pass in behind. One back by Rule, but Shaw pouncing on the second ball. Rule now jostling with Hemp. Hemp squeeze it inside for Gino. Lovely drop of the shoulder to receive. Here's Blinkilda Brown, who can step forwards. Lovely movement. Here's Hemp. Can't quite get the shot away. It's blocked. Charged down brilliantly in there by Caitlin Hayes. And Brighton now getting the ball away.
Yes, brilliant footwork.
Ball forwards now into Ola Slagers, who can't quite hold on to it. Falls now for Simmons, squeezing out to the right-hand side. Rule is picked off by Carolyn. Here come Man City. Carolyn breaking down the left-hand side. Tight control, lovely footwork, cuts inside now, opening up for the shot. Tries to play the pass across. It's cut out effectively. And Carolyn knocking it back into Jade Rose.
Better from Brighton. They're shutting everything down centrally, which is exactly what they needed to do from minute one. City are doing what City are getting the ball into areas, but as soon as players are getting on it, like your Hemp, like your Shaw, it's getting charged down and bodies are getting in the way.
Ball lifted forwards, Minami. Here is Rule. And now Kirby. Back to Rule. And it's one back well by Yui Hasegawa. Into Hemp. Hemp down the left-hand side. Lifts it into the area, looking for Khadija Shaw and Adozi knocking it away. And that will be a foul, I think, on Chiamaka and Adozi there. Brilliant goalkeeper once again from Adozi. And just feeling the brunt there, trying to contest in the air with Khadija Shaw.
Yeah. Does very well, and Adozi just charges at Khadija Shaw, very brave to do so. And it was a convincing punch and got caught in the aftermath. But
it's one of those as well, because you look at that kind of situation there where, do you think these are punished harshly enough? I mean, there's not a lot you can do, but if Enadozi comes up there and punches Shaw in the head, like if the contact's the other way round, Enadozi's sent off as a penalty.
Yeah.
So you're really having to take that risk there, because there's nothing that happens if Shaw nudges into you.
Yeah. I think it's one of those. That one was a bit easier because they kind of got there at the same time. But yeah, you have those ones where the goalkeeper gets their comforted first, clears it, and then the attacker just smashes it.
Yeah, smashes into them and sends them down. I don't think that ever gets punished as harsh as the other way around, where the goalkeeper will be set there marching orders and it's a penalty.
Yeah. But no, Enadozi again had a really good 23 minutes. And, if the goal didn't take a slight deflection, then, may this be 0-0. But Brighton have reacted really well to getting a goal behind. That goal came very early on, but they have done well to just kind of not allow themselves to get bogged down and not allow themselves to be... to end up, let City go on a rampage. They've done well just to stop the rot and slow the game down a little bit.
Jennifer says, Hemp is praised but underrated. She reminds me of Giggs. I don't think I'll be making comparisons to Ryan Giggs, but in terms of play style, absolutely. I think with I think with Lauren Hemp, it's a weird case where the Lionesses, I think, in the media quite generally are overpraised. I think they get way too much praise, but she's never been part of that core group. Probably because she plays for Man City.
Yeah.
Now, if she played for Arsenal, played for Chelsea, played for even Manchester United, because they had Russo and Toon at the time and Earps, I think they were looked on very favourably by the media, whereas City have always been a bit of an outcast. And I think when we look at the fact that Khadija Shaw isn't praised anywhere near enough in most of the media covering the league, similar for Yui Hasegawa, I think it's very much she's a bit of a victim of the fact she plays for Man City. I think we saw the same with Alex Greenwood. Why on earth is Alex Greenwood not in the England squad, earlier in these tournaments?
Yeah.
She's only really come into it in 2025 and then looking forwards into the next tournament. So many players, I think, just because they play for Man City have been disrespected. You'd imagine that will change massively if they win this title.
Yeah.
Because they're then the current OSL champions. I think that the media would look a lot more favourably on them. And we're approaching a decade since Arsenal last won it, so we're not far off it now. But yeah, I think Lauren Hemp's a fantastic player, one of England's best, and nailed on starter at the World Cup. And yeah, I agree. I don't think she's been given enough praise. Back in play then, Edo's sending it long, and a foul there from Carolyn.
Yeah, it's a bit too assertive there. Charlie's Rule is getting herself involved in a lot of physical battles in this game, and I think that we've had on a yellow card, that is something that Brighton and Vidosic have got to be wary of.
All down the line, and here comes Kiko Seike competing with Greenwood. Greenwood knocking it out of play, and that will be a Brighton throw-in.
Yeah, tidy from Seike initially to knock it past Greenwood, and then Alex Greenwood does well to recover and get the challenge in.
Greenwood inside now to Knack. Knack flipping it forwards and flicked on there and is then brought down. Rebecca Knack will be pulled back for a foul. Haley a little bit too aggressive in her attempts to win back possession. And a free kick now for City deep in their own third.
Has been quite a physical contest. I think both sides are sides that like to be quite aggressive and assertive. And I mean, obviously part of that comes because they're both quite high pressing and high energy sides. But I think they're also two teams that have a lot of physical presence and can be a little bit more bullish.
Kevin, going back to the conversation on the England players, as Greenwood lacks pace. Well, England started Jess Carter and Millie Bright for years. If pace was the issue, then I think that's a little bit rich. Here is Helena Kankovic lifting it across and finds Hayes. And Hayes smashing it directly up in the air. Drops now in midfield. And Kirby battling away. Does well. Finds Simmons with the pass. Trying to find Ola Slagers, but Kasparov steps up well. Punting it forwards and Hayes beating Shaw in the air. Minami. Now Venegas. Here is Minami. And now Chiamaka Enadozi under pressure from Fujino. It's a great pass looking for Kiko Seike, and Seike looks to spin away from Greenwood. Greenwood does well to make the recovery tackle, and it's out for a Brighton throw-in. Nigel wants to the strangers. Feels like we're somehow on the edge of scoring a second, yet nowhere close at the same time. Maybe that's me being delusional. Yeah, I think at any moment City could score or concede.
Yeah.
It's what makes watching them quite enjoyable because, there's some teams where they just suffocate the opponents for 20 minutes, end up scoring 4, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And they slow the game down. But City never seem to slow that down. And maybe that will be something that they need to do next season to manage games more better because next season when they've got Europe and stuff, you don't want to be playing up to the 90th minute in every match.
No.
You want to kill games off earlier. Which I think City, and the reason they've scored so many goals this season is because they just keep playing until the 90th minute. There's always a chance they're going to score. There's always a chance they're going to concede.
Yeah. Very silly yellow card picked up by Carolyn there for kicking the ball away.
Lovely pass across midfield there. Minami into Haley. Makes a bit of a mess of the hold up, but does get away from Rose. And Rose pulling her down. And you think this may well be another card. I think she may escape on this occasion.
I think
a little bit fortunate, yeah.
Steps, Carolyn just, very needlessly just kicks the ball down the line. You're in the 28th minute, you're 1-0 up. That's a very silly yellow card to pick up. But Rose there kind of just throwing Haley to the floor. She looked to spin it.
Ball play forwards by Brighton. Will run all the way through to Iyaki Yamashita. Kasparite looking down the line. Lifting it, looking for Khadija Shawman. Nami heading away well. Poked on now by Simmons. Haley. Kirby. Ball over the top from Kankovic. Rose makes a bit of a meal of it. Good header forwards there from Haley, and Yamashita out to collect. City now can build up from their goalkeeper, who in the all yellow kit with the blonde hair, it's really working today. When it's the pink, there's a bit of a clash, but now very, very stylish. Here's Hemp. Carrying the ball forwards. That's fantastic from Lauren Hemp as she feeds the ball through to Shaw. Shaw bearing in on goal, takes aim, and it trickles past the far post. A lovely opportunity. And I think Caitlin Hayes there did enough to force Shaw wide, and she took it from a bit of a difficult angle.
Yeah, I think it was a tight angle, but Khadija Shaw probably should do better. Brilliance from Lauren Hemp. Burst past 3 players, and again, the pass into Shaw is fantastic. And Khadija Shaw, yeah, just forced wide there by Minami, but I felt like she could have done a lot better there. Goes for it early, which I think is something that Shaw does, which gives her the edge over other strikers, is that rather than keep running and end up getting forced into a position where she just it gets blocked or it runs out of play, does well to take it early, but yeah, just couldn't quite find that far corner.
Venegas. Looking to throw this down the line. Ella, welcome to the Strangers. Who do you think has been the best goalkeeper this season? Ooh. Well, at fear of ruining our video in a few weeks' time when we do a team of the season, which could change between now and then, well, we could do this. We could do goalkeeper. I think goalkeeper is really easy for me. I think the last few years has been an obvious. I just put Hannah Hampton and that's sorted. I think it's Enadozie.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's an argument. I know people will say Yamashita, but I think she's had her moments. All goalkeepers have their moments, but in terms of consistency, in terms of how much of a difference they've made for their team, I think it's Chiamaka Enadozie.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it probably is between these two goalkeepers on the pitch, but I think that when you're looking at the best goalkeeper individually, you have to go off their individual performances. And of course, Yamashita's kept a lot of clean sheets, but that's more a testament to her backline, I think, than to her shot stopping abilities.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I would say
I think she's still had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
No, not doubting that at all. But yeah, I think Enadozie, in terms of the volume of shots that Brighton concede, and City do also give up some big opportunities. But yeah, for me, I would give it to Enadozie.
Yeah, I think it has to be one of these two goalkeepers that are playing right now.
Or I mean, Philga's a great shout for Courtney Brosnan. I think it's also in that conversation. The problem is Everton have just been too low in the table.
Every year, she's in the conversation.
Yeah, but because they've conceded 32, and you're looking at Man City have conceded 15, Brighton conceded 23. And I think especially when you look at sort of the difference from last season, because City weren't great last season defensively. Under Taylor, they had lots of injuries, of course. Brighton as well were very open, I think, last season, but they've definitely shifted things tactically, and Enadozie's come in and been a big difference. So they'd be the two in that conversation. Laura says, Fan Tyler's Joyce, not for me. Hasn't played enough this season, and I think United's defence has got worse this year than last year. She had that spell where she missed a couple of games. When she's played, I think she's done fine, but she has also had some clangers.
Oh yeah, of course. If it was who is the best goalkeeper in the league in general, absolutely up there. But I think this season,
Hampton, but
there's a debate.
Ball lifted in behind, and that was offside on Aoba Fagino. Yeah, I mean Hampton would probably still, but would have been it if it wasn't for the last few weeks, which just made so many high-profile mistakes recently.
Although I think we should not bother in this conversation because we should go off the EA Sports team.
Sorry, yeah, that is 100% correct. I'm surprised I didn't get Van Domselaar. And a poor pass out again. But a good recovery from Simmons, who plays the pass forward. Hemp almost picking it off. Does manage to hold on to the ball. Now looks to drive inside Lauren Hemp. Taking players on, lifts it towards the back post. It will bounce through. Kasparite now picking up on possession. Trying to chop forwards. It's a lovely skill. Doesn't quite come off though.
Yeah, you're not Johanna eating culinary. That's not going to come off. I feel like watching Brighton is like watching fireworks. It's like, they've done something wrong, and then, they've won it back. It's just, there's so many so many chances. You think, oh no, they're going to concede. And then the next minute, it's like, oh, they're comfortable. They're on the ball. It's absolutely fine. And yeah, it makes them very interesting to watch from a neutral point of view. But I couldn't imagine being a fan of them right now, because one minute you think, oh, we're going toe to toe with the team that are going to be champions in a couple of weeks, and the next minute you're thinking, oh, we're going to lose this game because we keep giving the ball away.
Pass forwards now, looking for Haley. Brilliant from Rose to step up and win it. Now looks to lift it in behind. Here's Shaw. And offside again on Khadija Shaw.
Yeah, this linesman on the near side is going to have an achy arm after this one. And a very busy first 35 minutes. But again, yeah, Shaw does just go a little bit too early. I mean, that is a very tight one, but it did look early. And that's something Brighton have done well. The organisation of the line has been very strong.
I think Brighton it's easy to look at this game and look at the fact City have created chances and said Brighton have been poor, but I think Brighton have actually played quite well. It's just they've struggled at times to deal with the intensity of the City press, and they've made mistakes. They've recovered quite well in most of the situations. Outside of the goal, I think City have only had one shot on target. Yeah, one shot on target in this game, which was the goal.
Wow.
So I think they've done really well to limit City, even after giving opportunities away. And obviously they've been helped out with the fact City missed, I think, 2 big opportunities. Shaw hitting the post, Hemp putting it just wide. And that does factor in, but I don't think Brighton have played particularly poorly here. They're a side who very much like to introduce a lot of risk into the game by being very transitional. So they'll get opportunities, but they are going to concede them. But yeah, very good quality of football game. I think they're both two really good sides, two really enjoyable sides to watch as well.
Yeah.
Because I think for different reasons, Arsenal United's also a very close game, very good game of football. But it's not as fun to watch a game where no one takes a shot for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Falling behind. And again, Khadija Shaw just timing that one a little bit wrong.
Yeah. It's a great ball from Hemp on that left-hand side again. But yeah, Shaw looked to have gone quite early that time.
So once a goal doesn't do Khadija Shaw, I think she'll realise, she's on 18 now, 4 away from Viviana Miedema's record. 5 away from, of course, establishing a new record. She wants those goals. She wants to see how many she can get this season. Now across the back line into Minami.
It is a relatively nice run in for City, and I think that's a testament. They've put the hard work in already in the season. They've got the results against the big sides. Yes, they did lose to Arsenal, but they did beat them. They beat United twice. They got the results against got a result against Chelsea. So they've done well. They've done the hard part of beating the sides around them, and now they can enjoy this nicer run in that should just see them to the title.
Blenkiota Brown back now to net. Now the pass forward from Yamashita. Hasegawa, lovely movement, knocks it in behind. Venegas does sort of carry it forwards. And Hasegawa able to win it back. Kasperai. Here is Yamashita out towards the left-hand side. Well, as Brighton lost Michelle to ACL, still did really well, respect. Yeah, I mean, that was a big reason why they had a bit of a slump this year, is that they haven't had a goal scorer. Ajman getting injured, Kirby getting injured, Seike being off at the Asian Cup, and that left them with Camacho, who I think is a very lively player and quite fun to watch, but hasn't been particularly clinical. Haley, who goes missing, I think, in certain games. Kafaji, I just don't think, is adapted to the league particularly well. And none of them have been able to step up and be that player in attacks. There have been games where they've just not taken those chances.
Yeah. I mean, why? I think, again, it comes back to what we were speaking about the investment earlier on, that why they didn't go and buy a striker in January, I'll never know.
Well, Ola Twfc's proven to be the weirdest investment ever, because they signed her, and obviously she came from an off-season, so it was going to take more time to get up to speed, but they haven't given it any minutes.
No.
So a little bit confusing there, because I think Twfc's a fantastic player. I thought one of the bigger sides was going to go for her. But we just haven't really seen Brighton play her yet.
No.
I think next season she could be one to watch, because everyone's going to have forgotten about her. And she's just going to suddenly be really good, obviously, because I think she's a really good player. So, yeah, if she can get fit over that pre-season and be ready, Haley, it's gone way too early there. Ball played over the top, and she's offside. I think they've got a top talent there.
Yeah, it'd be like when Kiko Seke came in and scored 4 at the start of last season against Everton. Yeah, like, hi guys, I'm here now.
I think she only had like 6 goals in total last season or something like that.
Brilliant game. One of the best 90 minutes of football I think I've ever seen an individual player have.
Yeah, ended on 6 in the WSL. That's had a much more efficient season this time round. 10-0 comp 7 in the league. Coming inside is Ola Slagers, now out to the right wing. Lifted ball in towards the back post, and Haley outstretched. Can't quite reach it. That's out for a City goal kick.
Yeah, I think Brighton have only had 1 shot, but they're getting the ball in some decent positions. Again, this is a good ball from Seke, and they should really get a shot out of this. It's good defending from Kasparov to put her body in between the ball and Haley. But again, it's just a great ball in from Seke, and she'll be frustrated that one of her teammates hasn't just managed to get on the end of it and poke it goalwards.
Indeed. Greenwood looking up the line. Shaw trying to contest for it. Hayes stepping in well to win it. And Hayes trying to knock it forwards, but not finding anybody.
That was in between the 3 options that she had, and neither of them could get there. Just needs to pick someone to play it to and give it to them. But yeah, I think if Brighton can, get into the break at a goal down, they'll be very happy with how they reacted to conceding that opening goal.
Hasegawa, now Blinkilder. So do you think City would have won the WSL if they had Champions League this season? Well, they haven't won it yet, but if they do, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I don't know if they necessarily would have won it, but I think they'd have been very good under Andre Eglerts. It's difficult. It's very difficult to say because the other, you'd look at a situation where United would then be the team without GWSL, and do they go and win the title? Probably not.
No.
And I think, but it changes so many things because City probably would have kept Park, and different transfers would have been made. There's so many different things that happen off that scenario. So maybe they don't get Andre Eglerts. Maybe they'd have kept Cushing if he did well enough to get them into the WSL. So this, I get it's a point of discussion. Shot now from range from Seke over the bar. But I think there's too many unknowns around it.
Yeah. I think that if you had the squad, say the squads and the managers were still the same, I think they'd be there or thereabouts. Probably would have had a couple more silly results, and it would be tighter. But I think they'd be there or thereabouts. I think that the one thing that they've done very well as well, on top of that, compared to the other 3 teams, is out of these international breaks, they've got results. We've seen Chelsea and Arsenal and United drop points or not play very well out of the international breaks. And I think that is another, it's another element of the fatigue that their players have felt. But City seem to have done much better at coming out of these, especially these long international breaks.
Those are under a lot of pressure there.
Especially these long international breaks, right. and coming away with a result.
Yeah, Kasparov winning it high. Can't quite hold on to it. I think especially considering that a lot of their players travel quite far for their international games.
Yeah.
You've got a handful of Japanese players. They're travelling to and from Asia. You've got Khadija Shaw travelling to Jamaica. I think it would have been very different again in a world of where they had Champions League football this year. I think they would have needed to recruit more last time, but they also would have had the perhaps interest in joining City be a lot more heightened last summer. So again, there's so many different variables that I think it's very difficult to say yes or no on. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
the title comes down to a couple games every season because you would expect them to. Caroline fed in behind. Can she take this opportunity? Big save, Menelozzi falls for Caroline again, but Venegas gets back in there. Brilliant work from Amala Venegas. Caroline back to Hemp, cut out well by Seke, and Brighton back in possession.
Big save, massive save, Menelozzi, and Caroline really should do better, especially this close to half time. That just keeps Brighton in the game.
Yeah. Hayes now across into Minami.
Caroline should do a lot better with that effort.
Ola Slagers back to Minami. Phil says this brand of football will be difficult to maintain with 2 games a week. Yeah, that I also agree with. And that is another factor that will come into play next season. But then I look at the other teams in the league this season. In a world where City just don't exist, have Arsenal, Chelsea, United played like WSL champions? Have they played like a team that deserves to win a title? I don't think so.
Not across the season, no.
No, of course they've all had their moments, but Seke, Paso, I don't know if United have, to be fair. But they've all had good games. and a bit of consistency in patches. But I don't think any of them have played at a level where they would have been deserving champions. Oleslager's ball into the area. Played away well by Rebecca Kanak. Pass played forwards, and that's out of play on this near side. Now for a City throw-in again.
Charlie's Raw's had such a weird 45 minutes. I mean, there's been some decent moments where she stopped Lauren Hem. Other times she's just committed fouls and got caught out. I mean, that is a 30-yard switch to the play to absolutely nobody. But this was really good from City. The ball into Shaw, who just turned and played through Carolyn, who, should do better. But that's a fantastic save from Menendozi, one-on-one. And I think ends up denying it with her leg.
Yeah, as we get towards half-time, 3 additional minutes in this first half. Jeremy says, do you think the long distances Brighton have had to travel have affected their league position? No, I think the fact they don't have anyone to score has been their biggest problem this season. Seike scored 7, no one else has more than 2. That's not enough goals, really, to do much. They've just not had anyone up there to create chances for or to take the chance they get. And City with this deep free kick. As they'll build up once again from this position. Kanak back to Yamashita. Back to Rebecca Kanak. Pass forwards into Greenwood. Hemp. Carrying it inside dangerously. Turned over high at the pitch here by Brighton. Now Oleslagers. Haley. Pankovic, nice ball round the corner, roll into Kirby, lays it off. Haley should score, does score, and Brighton sting back against Man City. We said it a few moments ago, there's chances at both ends in this game, and Brighton finally take one. Lovely football in the opposition penalty box, lovely combination, and Madsen Haley tucking it home brilliantly.
Yeah, really good from Haley. Had a bit of an inconsistent season, but does so well to be composed and take this opportunity, and right on the stroke at half-time, it's a brilliant chance for Brighton now, and it's really good football. And again, they've shown moments of this in the first 45 minutes of getting the ball down, just playing through City, and it's a lovely move that kind of starts with Haley and is finished off by Haley. I mean, Frank Kirby, that assist is just class.
Yeah.
The little layoff with the side of her foot into the path of Haley is pure class from Frank Kirby, and Haley does very well to delay, wait for the City players to make their movement, and picks up that bottom corner perfectly.
It's right to the side net. It's perfect. It's so difficult there for Yamashita to do anything about, and brilliant goal from Madsen Haley. Lovely move from Brighton. And they do have a goal back then in this game, and they're level in this game. Bit of a weird, it just came from nowhere. They were trying to play out. Hemp carried into an area where there was just a lot of Brighton bodies. They turned it over. And it felt too easy there to play passes through the lines, get into a good position, and they took it really nicely. Lovely goal from Brighton. But I think City will be a little frustrated at the timing and the manner of that.
Yeah, really, it's one of the worst times to concede. Right before half time, where Brighton had a bit of a reset, but. Yeah, it's one of those where after that massive chance for Carolyn, it just felt the half was going to peter out as we got to additional time. But big sting for City then. As I say, it was a massive chance for Carolyn. That goes 2-0. This is a completely different game. And it just shows that those moments in football can be decisive. And suddenly, City, a couple of minutes ago, could have been 2-0 up. And now they're going to be going into half-time level. And with a lot of work to do in the second 45.
Oh, Brighton vying here for another. That ball into the area, though, does find its way into the hands of Ayaka Yamashita. She's going to look to go a little longer with this. Launching it up the pitch, and that does bring to close the first half. City had the lead for almost all of it, but right to the death there, Madsen Haley bringing a goal for Brighton. A lovely move and a lovely finish from Madsen Haley, and they do peg City back. So a level going into the break. A goal from Carolyn cancelled out by a goal from Haley, and it's Brighton 1, Man City 1.
Yeah, really enjoyable half to watch. I think from a neutral point of view, it's been a good battle between the two sides. Brighton did well to react to going a goal behind early doors, got themselves back into the game. And I think that for majority of the half, it was quite even. Of course, City had more chances, but Brighton did very well to limit them. And we saw for the majority of the play after the goal, City didn't have a shot on target. and that's not good enough. Against oppositions like Brighton, who we saw can hurt sides, they hurt the top sides across the last couple of seasons. Got the win against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, they've done incredibly well, Brighton, in that first 45 minutes to just kind of keep City at bay, and then bang, striking in additional time, and suddenly it's all to play for going into that second half. So yeah, a very important goal, of a strong half from Brighton, and I think that City will be frustrated. We expected these kind of results to creep in, these kind of performances, and I think that they've played well for most of the half, but just switching off at the end there and not taking their chances. Some massive opportunities have come and gone. Khadija Shaw was one-on-one and hit the post. Kerrill in there one-on-one and is denied by Enandozi. Lauren Hemp put a big chance wide. And if they go in, that would have been game over, right, there and then. But they didn't take those chances, and they've been punished for it. And now, rather than thinking about the fact that they could win the title in 4 days' time, they've got to go out in that second half and get this job done, because Brighton are right back into this, and it won't be as easy as that. It won't be as easy as just go back out in the second half and beat them, because Brighton have now got something to defend and something to work with. So yeah, very interesting to see how City play it in the second half now, but they're going to have to work for it, and Brighton won't make it easy. But yeah, a really good half from both sides, and this is what you want to see in the WSL at the top level, is that two sides playing well and going toe to toe with each other, and it's a testament to how strong Brighton are. Really, I think this season a lot of people have saw the drop off at the end of last season, and then this season they haven't been as strong, or they didn't burst into life. But I think across this campaign they've been more consistent, and now that players like Fran Kirby and Kiko Seike are back, there's been that consistency, and that quality is back. I mean, do they score that goal there if it isn't for the moment of magic from Fran Kirby? The layoff into Haley is just ridiculously strong, and there's not many players in the league that have the quality to do that. So I think that the return of players like Kirby has been a big boost for Brighton, and they're putting together a really nice run in the back half of this season. If they don't lose today, that'll only be one loss in their last 6 games across all competitions. That is very strong form. And they've got a very, very difficult run to end the season. But if they play like this in all those games, they could get a result against someone like a Tottenham. They could get a result against United. Arsenal will be distracted. Have got distractions of Champions League, and their UCL fight is a big one. And I think that they've got difficult fixtures, Brighton, but if they can keep delivering these kind of performances, then they could end up, they could end this season not only in a very strong league position, but also in the FA Cup final, and potentially could they win the FA Cup with something special? But yeah, I think that the returning player has been a big boost, and that's made the difference in the second half. If this was the Brighton of January, City probably would be winning this quite comfortably, but this has been a very close game, and very similar to the match that these two sides played out back in October, where City just about got it over the line. But yeah, Brighton have done very, very well to battle hard, keep themselves into the game, and they get rewarded with the clinicality at the end of the half there, and City with a lot of work to do. But as I say, overall, very, very enjoyable to see sides like Brighton deliver to the levels we know, find the capability to challenge the league leaders. And for Man City, well, that thought of potentially winning the league if Leicester beat Arsenal, or going on to win the league next week, may be pushed back to the final match week if they can't get themselves sorted in the second 45 minutes.
Yeah, don't know what we've been talking about, but I'm sure it was great. I really enjoyed that first 45. I think this is a great fixture. I remember we didn't watch it live earlier in the season. I remember watched it back in full the day after. And yeah, I think these two sides complement each other really nicely, because you've got one side who wants both sides play very similarly. They both want to press really aggressively. They both play very high lines. They both want to transition very quickly. And it becomes a very end-to-end game, and they are naturally more enjoyable to watch. Yeah. I think, from a tactical point of view, I enjoy any football match, really. But I think when you've got two styles that are quite similar, you do create something quite interesting. Or it can go both ways, can't it? Because you can get games like this where they're very open, very, lots of chances at both ends, or you can have games where you've got perhaps two sides who are very possession dominant, in which case you just end up watching two teams passing the ball around really slowly for 90 minutes. So it depends what you get, but yeah, I think these two is a particularly fun matchup. I think it was last season that Brighton took points off Manchester City, I want to say. I think that's quite early in the season. That was a big scout for Dario Vidosic. And yeah, I think Vidosic is a great coach. I think Jegler's a great coach. I think this has been a fascinating outcome. I think what we've seen so far is that City have been a little bit wasteful in front of goal. Yeah. They've had, I think, the better opportunities. But yeah, I think Brighton were very happy that they're able to ride out those moments and take one of their own, because they did have chances before that goal. Ultimately, as much as City had those chances, they put 2 shots on target in 45 minutes. Brighton put 2 shots on target as well. And they both got a goal each. So I don't think it's an unjust, as much as City had the chance, I don't think it's an unjust representation of that first 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's been that inkling of chaos. It's really hurt City. And as I mentioned, they've had different players had so many chances. Shaw, Kerr-Lynn, Hemp, all should have scored. And yeah, it will be frustrating for them because they could have been so far clear. When you think of the world-class quality that front three has, they really should have put more chances away. But Enandozi made some big saves and Brighton did ride their luck. I mean, Brighton could have 1-0 down after 10 seconds after Minami's really poor back pass. And to be fair, the goal that actually did go in was a bit of really poor defending from Brighton that allowed Kerr-Lynn to score. But yeah, City will be very frustrated that they haven't been able to take the whole host of chances that they did have in those chances. And yeah, in that first half. And yeah, the lack of clinicality has been a real problem.
But I think this is kind of the trade-off you get with the way that City play is that they are very risk averse. So they're going to get loads of chances, but they're also going to give up loads of chances. Yeah. I think the other thing is that while they don't concede a lot of shots, they concede a lot of great opportunities. So when you do have a shot against Man City, it tends to be in a really good position. And I think it's reflected. I mean, you look at Ayaki Yamashita's statistics this season as a goalkeeper. She has made the second least saves in the league, but she's prevented the most goals of any goalkeeper. Which sounds like those two things should be you shouldn't be able to have that, but it's because they concede so few shots. But the shots they do concede are always great opportunities because of how high their line is, because of how aggressively they play. They will give up opportunities that are bigger chances. So, and this, I guess, is the problem. Could be a problem when you look at where City are going next season and the evolution of this system, is that when your game comes down to those moments, and you've got to be reliant on you taking moments and your opposition not, is that can come apart in some big games. I think we saw that in the Arsenal game, where Arsenal took their chances, took their moments, and City didn't. And so Arsenal got that result. And while ultimately, United and Chelsea haven't really been anywhere near City when they played them. I mean, Chelsea beat them on the opening day, and I think, again, that was a matter of taking their moments. But while they haven't really been near them in those other contests, it is something that if those sides are better next season, especially with Champions League football played in there as well, and fatigue being more of an issue, that's something that will be the big test, I think, for Man City next season. But yeah, I still think 4-1 City, but it's nice to see a good game. Well, that's absolutely what can happen, and that's where you see that huge upside of City system is because of how aggressive they are. If they take all those opportunities, they blow teams out of the water. I mean, think back to Aston Villa, who, what was that, 7-2? 7-3, something ridiculously high like that. I'm going to find the game now, but they had so many chances, or 6-1. Sorry, it was the Tottenham game, 7-3 against Villa. So many chances, they just kept taking them. They also gave up some opportunities in that game as well that weren't capitalised on fully, and that's been the case for City in a lot of games this season. Is that playing that way, you do rely on oppositions, and it's kind of similar to the way that Chelsea played for years. You rely on the opposition not being as good as you, not taking their chances, and you having better players, so you take your chances.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that it's just one of those where it has worked, and I think that they could definitely come out and we could see it in this 45 minutes, bang, 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 game over. Suddenly Brighton are miles out of it. But yeah, I think that it is. It's a weird way to play because you don't see many sides do it. So I think it's enjoyable to see a side just come out and take that risk and be a bit bolder. And I mean, obviously the reason they're top of the table clearly shows that for the majority of the time it works. But yeah, when you do come against sides like Brighton who are going to take their chances, it can cause you problems, even if that is just for 45 minutes. So it's a very interesting way to play, but I think it does make for some very good games. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see whether we do see that clinicality return in the second half and they blow Brighton out of the water, or whether they will once again find it difficult in the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Nigel saying that first half has annoyed me beyond belief. It's actually uncanny how predictable it became as it went along. It did always feel the more chances they missed, the better the chance was that Brighton were going to find something, perhaps taking belief from the fact that City had let them off the hook so many times. And I mean, we saw Brighton coming forwards with a bit more consistency towards the end of that half. They had a lot of chances there that they could have taken one earlier. They had that Kirby one that was, of course, a fantastic save out of Yaki Yamashita. So, yeah, I mean, Brighton had two big opportunities. They both could have been goals. They took one of them. City, I think, had three big opportunities, I would say.
Yeah.
And they took one of those three. So, yeah, it's a symptom of the way Man City play. Overall, they've moved the ball really nicely. They've created some good opportunities. But they are always vulnerable to a side who can move the ball quickly and attack effectively.
Yeah, there was that narrative shift. It always happens in these kind of games where for 25, 30 minutes, it was very much, well, City on top, they're going to score soon, they're going to score, they're going to cement, they're going to increase their lead, that goal's coming. And then as the game goes on, it shifts from City going to score to, well, Brighton are hanging on here, and if they keep hanging in, they're going to get chances to try and equalise, and City have got to be more clinical. And then eventually that goal comes, and it gets to the point where it isn't a surprise that they've equalised because of the fact that once you get to that point, it felt like that was always going to happen. But yeah, I think that it'll be frustrating for Jeglerts and for City because it shouldn't have happened. And yeah, it is always the risk with the way that they look to play and the way that they look to cause side problems. It'll be very similar in the second half. It will probably start with going, okay, City are going to take the lead again. City are going to take the lead again. But if they don't take those chances, then it will start to go back to Brighton could nick a win here. Brighton could nick a point here, and that puts City in a bit, in a spot of bother. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how if the second half is a replica of the first half, then it's going to be a very, very tight game.
I also think I didn't see anyone. I missed a lot of the analysis, but I didn't see anyone talking about it. Brighton haven't conceded a corner yet, which is a really important statistic when we think about City. They have scored so many of their goals, such a large percentage of their goals from set piece this season. Brighton haven't given up a corner. They haven't given up a free kick in a really good position. And it's been quite a deliberate effort. You see that ball getting wide, and players will knock it out for a throw. Players are desperate to get there because going for a corner feels like conceding a penalty against Man City. And I think that is something that clearly Vidosic has said, we don't concede a corner in this game because they'll probably score from it. And neither side yet has taken a corner in this game, which I think has been a huge thing. City have got to try and force corners more. Yeah. It's such a huge strength of theirs, and they just haven't really, because a lot of their shots have been off target. They've not forced saves out of Enadoza that get pushed wide. I don't think they've got the ball wide enough in this game. No. A lot of play in central areas. And that's great because obviously you're going to get shots away in those kind of zones. But Brighton are packing that area out and actually getting it wide, perhaps stretching Brighton out a little bit more and trying to win a corner might win them the game.
Yeah, exactly that. I think that, take the shot on, get a block, get a nick, kick it, be smart. If you get trapped in the corner, don't try and cross, just kick it into somebody and get a corner out of it, get a set piece out of it because I think that, as you say, although Brighton have got some very strong aerial presences in defensive areas, none of them are as good as Khadija Shaw or Rebecca Kanak. So, just try and find a way to, even free kicks. They haven't had wide free kicks where they can swing in or curl away from goal. They've just had no real opportunities to get the ball in the box.
Nigel making a great point as well regarding Viviana Miedema. Yeah, not able to stretch the game as well. We don't have that presence up there. I was expecting to see Shaw dropping deeper. I know you mentioned that Bunny's dropping deeper than she normally does. I was expecting her to be dropping deeper and Carolyn making that run in behind. Yeah. But you've not really seen that yet. I think that would make more sense. Let Shaw draw the defence with her and let Carolyn run into the space that's left behind. Brighton play a high line. Carolyn is rapid. Play her into that space every opportunity you get. City will get us back underway for this second half. Then Blinker Brown from the middle. Waiting for Frank Kirby to not be stood in the centre circle. We can now get underway in this game, and the referee's not happy. So we will go back to the middle. Frank Kirby too eager to win back possession. Blinker around from the middle, knocks it back, and we are now underway in this game. Can City find a way back from this draw? Can they find a way to win this game? That's what they've got to try and do. There's Brighton on the ball now. Here's Kankovic. McLaughlin, worth saying as well, substitution for Brighton. McLaughlin on at right back, which I think makes sense given that Charlie's Rule was on that yellow card.
Yeah, it was on a card and felt like a walking second yellow.
Yeah. Hasegawa bouncing off Fujino, back to Hasegawa. Here's Fujino. That's one thing I saw the other day as well. There's not been many red cards this season in the WSL.
No.
I think Inez Baluma is like the only one.
I remember Baluma. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Or at least there's no ones that I can recall. I think Shannon O'Brien receives a second.
Yeah, Shannon O'Brien for 2 yellows. Bonner, Fisk, De Landes, Riviere and Spence. Chance now for Fujino. Fires over. But I don't remember many. Riviere was in the Arsenal game.
Yeah, Spence's was against West Ham, and it was just a foot into the stomach. Bonner's was a last man tackle, I think, against West Ham as well. West Ham have got a lot of players get sent off against them, all 4 of them.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, there has been quite a. We haven't seen any violent acts or anything, which is
something about the Chigwell Construction Stadium just brings out anger.
Yeah.
Brighton coming forwards then. Kankovic winning it high. Here's Kirby. Slotting it in behind. Great move from Seike. In a great position. Fires home. What a move from Brighton. Kiko Seike. Past her compatriot. It's Brighton 2. Manchester City 1. Lovely football from Brighton. Kirby carried forwards dangerously. It's a fantastic ball. A world-class pass from Kirby in behind. And Kiko Seike just slicing it home. High and above Ayaka Yamashita. That was incredible from Brighton. Lovely move. And Brighton have the lead.
Yeah, brilliant from Brighton. Fran Kirby, this is just a ridiculous football player. What a pass this is into the path of Kiko Seiko, who makes a brilliant run. And then the effort is exactly what you need to do in that situation. We see players try and go across goal. We see players try and cut it back. Wrong decision. Just blast it at the near post. The goalkeeper doesn't stand a chance.
Blast it up. Blast it high into the roof of the net. It's brilliant from Kiko Seike.
Just a phenomenal goal all round. Brilliant technique from Seike. And again, Fran Kirby, the architect, 2 assists for her today, showing the world-class ability that she still possesses. And, well, pressure now onto Manchester City, who need to react. And, again, we said earlier that just get the results now. Nothing silly. Don't invite anyone else back into this title race. Just get the job done. Under a bit of pressure now to try and take something from this game.
Venegas losing it high to Fujino, who wriggles her way out of trouble. Fujino carrying forwards down the right-hand side. Can she cut it back to a teammate? Ball in the box, and Hayes heading it away. Here's Blinkilda Brown. Now Kanak. Greenwood. Finds Hemp. And I guess that's where Greenwood gets caught out at left back.
Yeah.
Is when she comes up against someone like Seiko, who is just much quicker than her.
Yeah.
Times the run well, and then has that advantage.
Just everything from Seiko was brilliant. The run, the fact that she then took it in her stride and ran across Greenwood and ran direct at goal. And
it's really intelligent forward play.
Just, it got everything right. And that is the problem for City, is when you give up chances, when the way you play gives up chances against players who do get everything right in the attacking third, you're bang in trouble. Of course, we have Brighton haven't been. It does help today that Brighton have been incredibly clinical, but that is the quality they do possess. And it just happens that City have hit them on a day where they're absolutely on it.
Yep. Now I'm wishing I hadn't benched Fran Kirby in my aerial fantasy team.
Oh dear,
because I didn't think she was going to get 2 assists against Man City.
Rookie error.
But well, hopefully Arsenal will bench Russo for Leicester. But she will still come off that bench. I know. You already know it. Here is Ayaka Yamashita. Also captained Rebecca Canet. Which hasn't gone down particularly well either. Venegas. Cuts it back now to Kankovic. Should have captained Shannon O'Brien. Kirby. Wide to Seike. Wants to take on Greenwood. Needing support. Does find McLaughlin now. Thought about returning to Seike. Does now return to Seike and back to McLaughlin. That's lovely football. Hemp gets back in there though. Wins the ball back. And now looks to carry it forward for Man City. Hemp knocks it up the line. Short. Holds it up well. Hayes though stands her ground and knocks it out of play.
Peyton Hayes has done very well. Just to stick with Khadija Shaw all game. Be tight with her. Make it difficult. and just don't allow her to have as much joy as she wants to.
As it stands, Brighton would move into a neutral goal difference, making them only the 5th side not to have a negative goal difference in the WSL at the moment.
Wow.
Of course, alongside all of the top 4. Because Tottenham's have taken absolute battering in the last few weeks. Here's Haley. Kankovic, lovely pass around the corner. Kirby knocks it wide. Seike again looking to run off the shoulder. Greenwood standing her up, but Seike taking her on. Looks to cut inside. It's charged down well by Greenwood. And now Blinkilder-Brown will carry it forwards. Here's Hemp. Kankovic here just forcing her backwards. Greenwood. One high by Kankovic. Headed inside looking for Haley. Who is brought down the area, and there's a decision for the referee. Doesn't give it. I don't think there was enough appeal there from Brighton. And then Kankovic pulling down Blinkilder-Brown. But I'd like to see a replay of that one.
Yeah, I didn't think it was... It's one of those where I don't think either City player did enough to give away a foul, but between the two of them, they did bring Haley down. I mean...
I don't think there's enough contact risk. It's a difficult one.
Did Blinkilder-Brown trip her up as she stepped in here? No, I don't think
Haley
so.
priced too much to buy it, and there's enough contact for her to go down like that.
That's a good decision, because that is a very difficult one to spot.
It's one of those where she is being held by Connect, but it's not enough for her to go down. And yeah, it's easy for that to look like a tangle of legs. So I don't, you get why Haley's gone down there, but yeah, not going to be given. Good call from the referee there. Enadozie. Now Venegas. Ball down the line. And Rose does well there just to come across, because Haley's been a real problem for City here.
Yeah. I think I'm right in saying that if this stays as it is, if Arsenal were to win all their 3 games in hand, they'd only go 2 points behind Man City. Which...
Yeah, as it stands.
That is not the position City thought they'd be in.
Well, they don't want to be in it, because here comes City for Gino. Looks to cut inside. Can she get the shot away? Lovely footwork. Plays it into Hemp now, who fires across goal, and it's blocked. And City can't quite make it come together.
Why doesn't Virginia shoot?
That's why I don't know.
Time and
cut inside and finish.
So much time and space. Lots of opportunities to just hit it. And for some reason just kept running towards the Brighton bodies. Yeah, I mean, very surprised that Virginia didn't just let fly here. 3-on-2 for Manchester City. She cuts inside. The space was so open just to go across goal, and decides to shift it to Hemp, who sees her shot blocked. But yeah, City really needing to find... I mean, they need to find 2 goals. Even a draw would mean that Arsenal could still go 3 points behind them, and that is not safe whatsoever.
Ball lifted out to the left-hand side now. For City, Hemp looks to take on McLaughlin down the line. Ball into the box is blocked away well. And City now with this corner.
Corner, here we go. It's taken 53 minutes, but they've got a corner. Will it be converted immediately into a goal? Brighton have done well to not give away any of these set pieces, but they've got to defend this one well.
And they find Rebecca Kanak. Kasparai over this. And it's a low delivery, and it's cleared away without much issue. Kasparai will pick up on the second ball. Plays it into Hasegawa. Hasegawa forwards to Greenwood, now to Kasparai. Can she deliver on the weak foot? It's blocked away, and that'll be another corner. This is what Brighton were trying to avoid, because that was a terrible delivery on the first. You'd expect the second would be better. Kasparai then. To take again. Shaw and Kanak. The players we're all looking at.
Yeah, very busy in the box.
Kasparai. Delivering in towards the back post. Headed in. Kanak. Headed away well by Hayes. And now Kirby, who will look to carry the ball forwards. Knocks it directly forwards down the line. And that, I think, will just get Brighton out of trouble.
Yeah. I think Brighton haven't conceded a corner this season.
That's a pretty good statistic.
Yeah.
They haven't really given away. It's a poor pass. And now Shaw getting away. Can she get the shot? Holds it up nicely. Plays it across for Gino. But that's fantastic from Venegas and Enadozie. Perhaps realising there that she couldn't pick it up. Dribbling it out of her own penalty area and clearing it away.
Yeah, does very well. And Dozy, I think she probably would have been all right to pick it up, but not worth the risk. But yeah,
And not worth denying us of the joy of watching her dribble
yeah,
out of the penalty area.
very true.
But yeah, sure, I don't think that's a bad decision at all.
No, Hayes did very well to not pull it, not drag her down, but to pull on her enough just to slow and allow Minami to get the right side of her.
McLaughlin lifting it in behind, and that will bounce all the way through to Iaka Yamashita. Then Kilda Brown. Kanak. Now Yamashita. Rose. That ball sent forward to now Venegas. Collecting. Minami back to Chiamaka and Adozi. Hayes lets it run to McLaughlin. Back to Hayes. Lifting the ball forwards and Greenwood nodding it on. Simmons. Kirby. Simmons. Haley drops. Here's Kankovic. It's lovely football from Brighton.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done well to react after. I think they've given away some good chances. Haley brought down that. Free kick in a good position.
Yeah, bit of a lazy pull that. Was it Cashbro was running back in and recovering? Because I don't think Hasegar was doing well to hold her there. And yeah, again, really good football from Brighton. And that will be the concern for Manchester City, is that it's not, they haven't gone 2-1 down and suddenly it's become one-way traffic and they look like they're going to score any minute. Brighton have taken the lead and are, looking solid with it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still giving up too many decent chances. That would be a bit of a concern, but yeah, I think they've definitely done well to still come forwards and offer that threat as well.
And that's the problem, is that are City going to score 2 in this game without giving Brighton a chance to score a third? Probably not. So, yeah, it's a very difficult position to be in.
Ball lifted in towards the back post. That'll bounce right the way through. And out for a goal kick.
Yeah, Kirby's had a very good game. Looking for a third assist, but that wasn't it. Not a bad ball, but not really towards anybody. Well, this is a very strong reaction from City.
Yep, change is coming then, and it's not a bad player to have off your bench. Is Mary Fowler. Fowler for Carolyn. And City looking for the impact.
Yeah, makes sense. I think Carolyn hasn't had a brilliant game. Picked up the yellow card as well. Fowler can definitely come in and play a big part in City turning this around.
Simmons now to Minami. Venegas. Kaspraj picks it off and sends it forwards. One back by Simmons. Minami. Trying to go back to Rule. That's a pass out and it's picked off out the pitch. Fowler tried to find Shaw. And it's an offside flag there. Shaw was in an offside position. Coming back after pressing. So it will be a free kick for Brighton. And there's a growing frustration in the City camp. They haven't had it all their own way in this game.
Yeah, they're feeling it. They haven't been in this position at all this season, really.
Against London City, didn't they? And well, it was 1-1 for ages, and they needed a late winner in that game. They had against Liverpool as well earlier in the campaign. They found a way on both those occasions. But it does feel a little bit different today. Ball in behind. Haley's going to get there. Yamashita with a big save. And Kaspraj clears it away. I think perhaps the position they're in, they're so close now. But it does feel like they're starting to just crack under that pressure.
Yeah, it's Gareth Taylor 2 years all over again. They look to be clear, and then as the running comes, they just start to fold for a little bit. Yeah, this really could have been 3-1. Didn't think that Haley was going to beat Yamashita to it. Not really sure why the City goalkeeper was backpedaling rather than going forwards. And Haley did well to get there first. Looked to go through the legs of Yamashita, probably. Should have tried to lift it over her from that position.
Yeah. Kirby, McLaughlin. Back now to Hayes. Here is Minami. Tankovic. Minami sends it forwards. Finds Haley. Back to Venegas.
I think it will feel a bit frustrating for City because they have ran into Brighton on a day where, players like Madison Haley are at the top of their game. And this is where the frustration with Haley comes in. Imagine if she played like this in every game. What a player that she would be.
Ball in behind, and Nax under pressure, and she gives it away, and Seike deemed too aggressive. I think that is not... I think that's a very harsh foul, a very harsh yellow card.
I think the card's gone to Kirby for her complaints rather than Seike. But that is soft.
Yeah, that was a little bit fortunate for Rebecca Kanak. I think she just gets nudged too easily here.
Yeah, that's shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
That is very soft. Especially when you consider a player the physical size of...
I don't think that's a foul. I just don't think that's a foul.
Takes me back to Myra Ramirez on Alana Kennedy at Stamford Bridge.
Didn't get quite as ragdolled there.
No,
but...
true. But yeah, I think that is soft.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a foul. A little bit fortunate there. Let off the hook, I think, Manchester City. They've got to use that as energy, because at the moment, it just looks like Brighton are going to score a third. More than City are going to get back in this.
Yeah. Or even if City get one back, I don't see City scoring two without Brighton scoring again, with the way this game's gone.
Well, City are coming forwards now. Fowler to Virgino. What can she make happen here? Darting directly, takes aim. It's a big stop from Chiamaka and Adozi. Really important save for the Brighton keeper.
Yeah. Anandozi has shown her quality in this game, made some brilliant saves, and this is another one. Virgino, this is better, runs directly at Venegas, shifts it onto the right foot, needs to drive it a little bit wider. It's a bit too close to Anandozi, but still a very smart save from the Brighton goalkeeper. Oh yeah, has made some big stops in this one.
Just looking a little bit nervous at the moment, Man City. I'm going to look back at this chance again. I don't know if a different angle is going to change my opinion. I think that's really soft.
I think, so the card was to Kirby for her frustrated
outburst.
Which I can understand, because I think that she'll feel that her side's been hard done by that.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have probably been the game there. At 3-1, or at least Brighton taking something from it.
But again, this feels like the Arsenal game. I mean, not quite to the same extent, because City have definitely had chances.
Yeah.
Arsenal didn't really create anything. But Brighton genuinely looked the better side.
Yeah, second half. I mean, I thought there'd be some reaction from it, because first half, City were the better side and should have taken their chances. And so conceding it in just for the end of the half would have hurt, but I'd have expected a reaction, and then just come out in the second half, played the same way, but this time put the chances away. But it's not been like that. Brighton, it's been much more even. If anything, Brighton, as you say, have been better. Really not from a side that are currently top of the league and have looked brilliant. I'd have expected a much better reaction in this second half from Man City, especially from going behind.
That's out of play now for a Brighton throw-in on this near side. I'm just trying to think of when City have come back from a losing position this season, because I feel like they've come back from quite a few draws. They've scored and then conceded.
Yeah.
And then gone on to found that late winner. But I can't recall a moment where they were behind. And they've had that exact, as I just described. At Liverpool, they did go 1-0 down, to be fair. So they had that game. But it's very different with Brighton on 2 goals.
And that was a Liverpool side who had barely put a point on the board.
Kirby through the lines into Seike, gets away from Greenwood, squares the ball. Haley should score. Can she turn it home? Yes, she can. Brighton have a third. And the champions-elect are faltering in this game. Brighton are playing brilliantly. Lovely move down the right-hand side. And Haley adds to the tally. It's Brighton 3, Man City 1.
Wow. Again, it's Kiko Seike who just undoes Alex Greenwood in this left-back position. Does really well to get the wrong side of her. And Greenwood is forced into a decision of bringing her down or letting her go. And she has to let her go. Brilliant from Seike, who does well to ride the challenge. Cuts it back to Haley, who makes a bit of a mess of it with a heavy first touch. But really shouldn't be allowed to out-jump Yamashita there. But does well and heads it past her into the back of the net. Yamashita gets out to it well, and then here is a goalkeeper. I mean, to be fair to Yamashita, she is coming from the floor, but as a goalkeeper who can use your hands, you should never get out jumped by a player who can only use their head. Really good from Haley. And well, 2-1 felt like a big ask, but 3-1, City have got a mountain to climb if they want something out of this game.
Yeah, Madison Haley. I mean, I mentioned earlier she's not been clinical enough this season. She had 1 goal in the league before this game. She has scored twice in this match. A brace from Haley. And just the scintillating pace of Seike and Haley up against the left-hand side of City. It's just been unstoppable.
Yeah.
Brilliant performance from Kiko Seike. Brilliant performance from Madison Haley. Brilliant performance from Frank Kirby. They've combined so effectively. And yeah, I think the weaknesses in the left-hand side of City's defence exposed perfectly by what we've seen from Brighton.
Yeah. And if they don't, I mean, it's 25 minutes, and if, they're top of the league for a reason, because they have got the ability to find 2 or 3 goals and turn this game around, but it's going to take something massive. And if they don't, then the pressure's going to be on.
Kankovic carries it forwards. Now Olis Slagers. Back to Venegas. Kankovic. Haley. Simmons turns nicely. Here's Hayes. Seike dropping the shoulder. Greenwood wins it back. Well, City may well have to delay any preparations for celebration. Another week longer. Ball lifted forwards. And now Hasegawa picking it up. Does this change the way Arsenal approach the end of this season? Because I think a lot of the discourse was that, like last season, they just been off the league because it's fairly certain now they should get enough results to finish in the top 3 and focus on the Champions League. But do they now look at the title as winnable? They're 2 points off in terms of play. Do they look at the fact that City have got Liverpool and West Ham and think, well, they've got to win? They should win both of those.
Yeah. The problem for Arsenal is that, as you say, it relies on them being perfect in the league, and even if they are, City have just got to get a result in the across those 2 games. Yeah. So even if Arsenal were to throw everything at it,
they need to get a win in one of them and a draw in the other.
Yeah,
would do enough.
So I think it's one of those where it would still take a lot. And I mean, I don't see it, even if Arsenal went for it with the amount of, I think with the sheer amount of games they've got to play, I don't see them being perfect anyway.
Unless they focus entirely on the league, but I think that would be too much of a big gamble. Gideon saying, can Chelsea still win the title? Yes, Chelsea need to remain perfect. They need City to lose every game, and they have to overturn a 20 goal difference swing.
It's not going to happen.
So it's on.
No, yeah.
Chelsea would need the planets to align too perfectly.
But on a serious note, if one of those losses for Chelsea was turned into a victory, the Everton game, for example, Chelsea could then win tomorrow and go 3 points behind.
I mean, you can look back at that with every.
Of course.
In the WSL, because there's so few games, every game matters more. So silly drops of points just can't happen.
Yeah.
Because if even with the result against Man City, even the result against Arsenal, if Chelsea don't lose that game against Everton, as you say,
draw with
Liverpool, draw with London City,
got loads.
if you take those results away, Chelsea are right in the title fight. They win the league, but ultimately those are such important games. And on top of losing to City, on top of losing to Arsenal, on top of drawing at the Emirates earlier in the season, there's just too many of those moments that haven't come together. And this is where when people go, oh, would City win it without Champions League football? It's just so difficult to say. Yeah. Because do those moments still happen in that scenario? It's impossible to say. But City know they're in a fantastic position. This shouldn't be a big problem. They should beat West Ham and Liverpool. Exactly. They should win the title after that. That's all they need to do. And, if they could get back to a point here, that puts them in a much better position even still. But it does just leave that door a little bit more open.
Exactly. We're creating drama. That's what we're here to do. At the end of the day, from a City point of view, it's still very much in their hands.
And they play a team who've won 4 games and a team who've won 3 games in the last 2 games of the season. Liverpool are a much better side than I've given them credit for there. But City shouldn't have any issues winning this title. And they are making it as hard as possible for themselves right now.
But and it relies on Arsenal being perfect, and Arsenal have still got to play 5 league games and Champions League. That is, there's no way Arsenal win every single one of those fixtures. So yeah, it's definitely, it's very much in City hands. But as you say, it goes from the door being slammed shut today to the door just being open a little bit, and that we've seen it before. City, they opened the door a little bit 2 years ago, and Chelsea came along and smashed right through it. So they've just got to be careful.
But Stina Blackstenius doesn't play for West Ham or Liverpool.
That is true.
So it should be.
Let's get a quick transfer, please.
And Khadija Shaw hasn't got injured.
No, yeah, that is very true. Very different, and it's
not Emma. It's not Emma Hayes' Chelsea chasing them down.
Yeah. All it means really is that they probably won't win it now until the last game week.
No, which I guess is a bit frustrating for the fans because that is away.
Yeah, and also they've got the FA Cup semi-final in there to contend with, so they'd wrap the league up. They could have just put all their eggs into the basket of beating Chelsea in the semi-final, but they will have to now come through. They will have to make sure they get the job done.
There's actually going to be, if City do win the title, they should win the title. They're going to do it at the Chigwell Construction Stadium.
Brilliant.
So here for that. Bene looking for Shaw. It's picked off well. Bene battling away.
Yeah, City did bring on, I think was it Clinton and Bene who came on in the double change.
Yeah, again, I've not been keeping good enough track of subs. There's so much drama going on, but yes, Clinton and Bene on to make an impact.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah, it's all happened very quickly this game.
That's what Man City want. They're not going to hang around their changes. They're going to jog on, jog off, jog on, jog off, get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton are such a good side. I don't think we speak about it enough.
They've been phenomenal in this game. Second half especially. Yeah. Second half have been the better side. City have had 3 shots in the second half.
Expected performance has them 5th, 5 points behind United. Ball into the area, headed away well. Here's Kirby. Good hold up, and now Seike. Tries to poke it down the line and knocking it out of play.
Yeah, 3 shots from... And this is why we're saying it's similar to the Arsenal game with Brighton, but this is why we're saying that it's going to take something incredible for City to turn this around now, because they've had 3 shots in the second half. They need to score at least 2 goals to get anything from it.
That makes sense, but what is it about that makes it so hard to get the title over the line? It's the first. It's the first title. I think you're seeing the same thing with Arsenal in the Premier League, where it is that group and that sort of, I don't really know what the word is that I'm looking for, but that group, the mentality isn't there. They haven't done it yet. They haven't got over the line yet. And so when you get so close, the pressure starts to ramp up again.
Yeah, it's outside noise as well. If serial winners like your Chelsea's, for example,
down the left hand side, but play well by Hayes.
If serial winners like Chelsea under Emma Hayes, or when they won title after title, if they had one slip up at the end, everyone would go, that's fine, that's a slip up, they'll be back on it. But when it is City, and when it is sides that haven't won it for ages, one slip up and suddenly the out noise comes. I mean, we're sat here going, well, Arsenal could go only 2 points behind if they win their games in hand. That increases, and then that does have an impact on the squad, because they start to feel that pressure as well.
Grace Clinton over this corner then for City. Referee's not happy about something. Does now allow Grace Clinton to take the corner. Clinton delivering it on top of the goalkeeper, and a dozy comes and misses, and that will be... Has that gone for a goal kick or a corner? I think it will be another corner.
I think that's...
No, it will be a goal kick.
Yeah, that was overturned well by the line, because the referee's gone for a corner and it wasn't. It came off the back of Khadija Shaw's head. That's a good bit of officiating from the linesman on the far side. Yeah, just came off Khadija Shaw. But yeah, and suddenly, there's only 15 minutes left. And that is not enough time to really turn this game around for City when they haven't been on top. I mean, Brighton, what a run they're putting together. This would be now, 4 wins in their last 6 across all competitions, including beating Arsenal and Manchester City.
He's giving a goalkeeper work to do there, but it's brilliant from Enadozie. Beats Virgino in the foot race and gets down to it well. Mark says the second time in a row after an international break that City have struggled. Yeah, I mean, you said the opposite earlier, which I thought was a bit interesting, because obviously City started this game fairly well. But, I think travel is the biggest thing. They've got a lot of players that play outside of Europe. it helps that a lot of their players don't play internationals, but then
Mm.
the players that do play internationals are key and play, outside of
Yeah.
Europe. They've got to travel a lot for those kind of games. So all the big sides have struggled this season off of international breaks,
Yeah.
which I think makes complete sense. You've got players, particularly in the case of Arsenal and Chelsea, where they all play 90 minutes for England, 180 minutes for England
Mm.
very quickly. It's very difficult to adjust between the two.
I think, but also you're turning up at Brighton's home form is ridiculously good. They are so
Yeah.
strong at home, and yeah, you're turning up off an international break, looking to close out the title against a side that are in form in general, but also are so strong at the Broadfield Stadium.
I also think what we've had in the women's game this year with these ridiculously long international breaks hasn't helped.
Stupid.
Because even with the ones earlier in the season that were only 1 week international breaks, because of the League Cup weekends being the weekend before, they were de facto 2 weeks for the big sides.
Yeah.
So you've ended up with these 2-week breaks 4 times in this season.
Yeah.
And I think it hasn't helped teams building momentum. Kirby into the box, right on top of the goalkeeper. Just about dealt with all the sliders, trying to find room for the shot. Short as enough to charge it down. Here's Seike, and Fagino makes the recovering challenge. Knocks up the line, but Seike blocks it. Now Hasegawa.
I think that came off the line by Simmons. I think it hit her on the back. I think the corner from Kirby was going in direct, and Simmons ran towards it. I think overran it. I think it hit her on the back and came out again. Like to see a replay. But I think Simmons might have turned that, stopped Kirby's corner going in.
Haley tries to play it wide, picked off well by Greenwood, who's going to carry it forwards. Now Hemp trying to turn and knocks it up the line, looking for Alex Greenwood. On back well by Hayes.
Yeah, Hayes does very well. And just very smart to delay the taking of the throw.
What's inside now, looking for Clinton. It's cleared. Here's Hasegawa. Kanak knocks it wide. Greenwood drills it into the box, and that will bounce through and out for a goal kick.
Yeah, it's been the problems aerially for City have been their biggest problem. Yeah, I think that not only the quality of deliveries and the lack of crosses have been poor, missing Viviana Miedemar's height in the penalty area, but also coming up a side who are very good in the air in Brighton has caused them a lot of problems. Because when they've struggled, their route to getting back ahead has just been, we'll cross it in and Khadija Shawk will head it home. Look at the game against Tottenham. I think 3 or 4 of those goals just came in the air from crosses and corners. And the fact that hasn't been a viable option today has massively hurt them trying to score goals.
Yeah, Phil says Kirby, Seike and Haley will all get the praise today, deservedly, but Simmons has been superb. I think Simmons is a really good footballer. I think she's had a great game. I think the problem with Simmons is that, or perhaps a help, is that it feels like there's 2 of her because her and Kankovic are so difficult to tell apart when they're playing because they both make very similar movements and oftentimes it's very difficult to read the number on the back of their shirt. So yeah, I think they're both always brilliant. They've got such a good relationship, such a good understanding in that midfield. And it always feels like there's 2 of the same player there.
Yeah, it's proper captain material. Just leads the side so well. And I think that it's the example that she sets. Covers every blade of grass, makes every tackle, gives it everything for 90 minutes. And it's exactly who you need kind of leading this Brighton dressing room. Especially in games like this where they're just looking to see out a massive, massive win.
How did Brighton manage these last 10 minutes then? Because they've only made 1 sub. Do they need that energy on there? Do they keep the players on there that are working? Looking at their bench, they could turn to Camacho just to be a handful up front. They could turn to a Tveden to come on the left wing. They could turn to a Nordan if they need something in midfield. How do you see them approaching the last 10?
I think that those changes are important. They might be forced into one here if Kankovic cannot continue because she is down. But yeah, I think you're looking at attackers to be defensively solid in the final third and take the pressure off by having the ball. And we are going to see Nordan come in for Kankovic. But yeah, don't change the back 4. Keep it regimented. Keep a bit defensive. But as you say, maybe you get a Camacho on there just to run that City backline ragged, just to keep the pressure on. Because as soon as you give City half a yard to work with, that's when they can really hurt you. So Brighton cannot afford to drop the intensity.
Sharon says, do you think this Brighton side can win the FA Cup? I think any team can win the FA Cup. I think the problem for Brighton would be the occasion of it all being at Wembley. I think in terms of, I just think that side has it got the players and the mentality to go out and win on a big day like that? Because I think you think of like Tottenham when they were there against United a couple of years ago. They probably had the players and some of those players had the quality. And again, I think you probably look at a similar situation, but do they have the mentality? Do they have the intangibles to go out and beat either Man City or Chelsea in that final? And they've still got to get past Liverpool, which is probably the most difficult of the games there for Brighton.
Yeah.
But though, to be fair, I think Brighton will when you look at how Liverpool play, it can be quite slow at times.
Yeah.
Lots of long passing sequences, and Brighton are great at pressing.
Yeah. I think the problem for Brighton and Liverpool is that you're going to be coming up against either a City side who have just come off winning the league, or a Chelsea side that have got absolutely nothing to lose, and that is going to be they're only their second trophy of the season.
And as much as I think they haven't been incredible this year, Chelsea, they've got players that have the mentality. They've been there and done it before. There's no player in that Chelsea side who's going to be phased by that stage. Even someone like a Villa Berman. I mean, how quickly she stepped into playing Champions League, just huge, decisive matches, and looked the best player on the pitch. And you'd think that those players would step up on that kind of occasion. So, yeah, I think it will be very difficult. But of course, I mean, if they get there, they'll give whoever they're playing a really good game. Driving into the area, blocked away well by Kiko Seike.
Yeah, again, really strong from Lauren Hemp. Just darts past a couple of Brighton players, and it's a big block from Seike recovering in to put it out for a corner. And again, City will be lining up those threats. Cash Price had a couple of poor deliveries, so the duty shifts to Clinton. But you've got Greenwood, you've got Kanak, you've got Khadija Shaw. They need to find a goal now if they want to try and take something from this contest.
Clinton delivering it then towards the back post, and a dozy up to it well. Shaw trying to judge the flight of the ball, battling away in the penalty area now. Can she find a teammate? Clips it back in there, and it's cleared away. Enadozi just nullifies corners, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Where do you put the ball?
And cross it. I think Enendozi is the reason they haven't conceded a corner is because Enendozi is the only goalkeeper in the league who is brave enough or bold enough to step out, be aggressive, and come out and claim things.
But she doesn't make a mistake with it.
No.
Sometimes she misjudges. I think when the ball goes in behind, she jumps a bit too early.
Yeah.
And when you get that wrong, it's like it's an easy goal. So you look particularly bad. But she's so good at judging when to come for aerials and being sort of confident to get up in the air and make those claims.
Yeah, I mean, that cycle there. Corner goes in, she punches it away, City recycle it, cross it in, and she's there. Comes out to claim it.
Jesus saying, can you answer my question? Saying, do you guys think if Lazo is fit, she should replace Greenwood as left back? I don't think we've seen enough of Lazo. She's not really played on the Egglets yet. I don't even think she's got a minute that I can recall in the league. Might have played some of the cup games earlier in the season, but we haven't seen Lazo. Hasn't even made the bench today. Potentially that's something to look at next season. I wouldn't be surprised if City looked at bringing in another left back.
Yeah.
But we have seen Greenwood start to have a bit more of an attacking role, and I wonder if they could look at a bit more of an attacking left back, someone like a Sakina Karchawi, who is comfortable inverting into midfield, is good defensively, can offer that attacking side as well, though. Phoebe saying, are you going to watch the Women's Europa Cup final? Unfortunately, we can't because it kicks off at 2:00, and it's too close after this game, and then sandwiched right between this and the Champions League semis. Unfortunately, it's a terrible time to put a two-legged final on the same weekend as the Champions League semi-finals.
Yeah,
that's UEFA for you. They're finally broadcast it, which is good. The first stage of the competition to be broadcast is the final, but it's two-legged, and yeah. Which I think the two-legged looks even more stupid now because they're both in Sweden.
Yeah.
So they could have just found a different stadium in Sweden to put it in.
Yeah.
And then hosted the one-off game there.
Finals should never, ever be two-legged.
But I get it because you've got a lot of teams there that are semi-pro and a lot of teams where the travel would be a huge problem for them. In that competition, a lot of teams who are pro but perhaps don't have the biggest budget. But yeah, I would have a final, and I'd have played it on a weekend that you don't have two Champions League. There's no reason they couldn't have put it on the WSL final weekend. There's the final day weekend. They could have put it on that Sunday.
Midweeks.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, the semis should be midweeks anyway.
Yeah.
Been saying that for ages now. They could have put it on the Wednesday before the Champions League final, but no. Common sense doesn't prevail. Shaw takes aim and does find the back of the net, and City have a fight back in this game. Kind of came out of nothing there for City. The ball trickled its way forwards. And Shaw slotting it home. Big goal in the context of the title race. City now have only a goal to get level.
Massive 5 minutes now for Man City. I have no idea how this has gone in. Brighton really switched on. The ball through from Bene is quite soft, and Khadija Shaw just rolls it towards the bottom corner, and somehow it makes its way through the bodies and past Enandozi.
Great pass from Bene, but it shouldn't get there.
No, it's quite under-hit, to be honest. It should be cut out. And then Shaw just sends a bobbly shot towards the corner. And I tell you what, this is now game on for the final 5 minutes.
Kanak's up front as well.
Love it.
They're going for this game now. Enandozi making a claim. Didn't see what led to that, so we're watching replays of the goal. But City with an attacking intent. But they've got to be careful about defending, because Rose is the only player defending now. Nordam wins the header. Kirby will contest up for it. Rose, though, beating Haley in the air. And now Fowler plays it to Clinton. Such an attacking setup. Can it pay dividends for City? Bene down the line looking for Shaw. Cut out brilliantly by Venegas. Just going to punch it down the line. And that will run through to Rose.
Yeah, can't imagine there'll be too many additional minutes either. So they need to get a move on with it, Man City.
Greenwood, Yamashita. Ball over the top. Venegas heading it away. Rose. Hayes heading it clear. Seike. If anyone had 3-2, Brighton as a prediction, I'll be incredibly impressed.
Yeah, a point's massive. With their goal difference, a point means that they only need one more win. If they lose this game, then they need to get 2 results. Yeah, from the final 2 games,
which they should do anyway.
Yes, but it just takes the pressure off. One goal,
and it means that if Arsenal slip up at any point in that run, while it would be a bit, I think, flat to win it, not while playing.
Yeah,
you will win the title in that moment. So, yeah, we'll just give them a cushion. Kirby making way. Camacho coming on. Vargy, the other change. Then you'd imagine Haley would make way as well. Then.
Yeah, makes sense. Energy in the front line to just hold the ball up and put City under pressure.
Shiko Seike, who departs. So Haley will move out wide. Camacho will go up front. Kafaji into Kirby's position. Can City find a late leveler? They've got this corner now. Brighton haven't conceded from a corner. Oh, it's a throw-in, sorry. I thought it was a corner. Brighton are coming forwards. They're absolutely fine. It's Camacho. Rose. Into Asegal. Clinton now. Forced backwards. Looking to lift it over the top and run straight through to Chiamaka Enandozi, who delays under pressure from Rebecca Kanak, who's now a striker. This is what I should have started with, though. The best Miedemar replacement would have been Kanak.
Yeah.
As that height.
Watching
goal scoring prowess.
Shaw and Kanak as a front 2 is just brilliant.
It's imposing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not going to win a header. Great fight from Nordam. She's brought down, but it does go out for a throw. I think what this was that earlier chance then that we missed. Right after the goal, Kanak in the position to score. Just couldn't get enough behind it. Jennifer says City needs another striker. Too much reliance on Bunny. Yeah, I think they should bring in a younger forward to rotate in. I know they've got so many players that can play there, but you don't want to end up in the same situation as before when Shaw gets injured and then they're just playing players who can kind of do that role.
Yeah. I mean, I think Miedemar's put together a respectable total.
With 10 goals in the WSL this season.
Yeah, which is a lot more than respectable, to be fair.
I think it's more that you want to be able to rotate
yes.
and bring someone on in there. And if Shaw gets injured, you have someone you can back. Because meanwhile, obviously, fantastic striker. Best striker the WSL's ever seen, really.
Yeah.
I think Shaw is well on her way to surpassing that. But since the injury, she hasn't been the same player. I don't think she can play up front. 7 minutes added on in this game. That gives City time.
Did not see 7 minutes being added on.
Camacho battling away. Simmons, Nordam coming forwards now for Brighton. Has options ahead of her. Plays it to Camacho. Forwards now to Kafaji. Can she finish the job? Not quite. The Arsenal loanee would have given Arsenal fans something to cheer there. But City still only trailing by 1 goal.
Oh, Brighton should have killed it off there. Had so many players forward. City were caught so high at the pitch. And they just didn't. I don't know, it all just felt really clunky. And Kafaji just couldn't find a way past Yamashita.
Yeah,
Never
got to score.
Yeah, never really got out of her feet.
Never looked comfortable. Trying to shoot. Hemp wants to spin McLaughlin. Sends it forwards. Brilliant work from Haley, who battles away. And Clinton commits the foul. Brighton free kick. And they've got through 60 seconds.
Phenomenal. Madison Haley has been absolutely phenomenal today. 2 well-taken goals. A brilliant defensive contribution as well. And this is why it's so frustrating when you see Haley have those below-par performances. Because we know that she can deliver to this level. A level which
absolutely
picked up a double against the league leaders.
Camacho trying to run off the shoulder of Rose. Trying to knock it back, but it will be Yamashita who comes to collect it. Shamdil says, Haley, player of the match. Yeah, I think it's difficult to argue with that. I think she's in the conversation. I would say Kirby's in that conversation as well. But yeah, Seike. They've got a few options, but I think it probably is Haley. Scored 1 goal all season. She's bagged a brace today. If she could do that more consistently, she'd be fantastic. And she's shown she's got the minerals to deliver on a consistent basis in the WSL, but she just doesn't do that. She's shown in this game she's got what it takes. There's just no consistency there. Brighton holding the ball in the corner here at the Broadfield Stadium.
I have to say, there's one player I wanted to hold it in the corner. I would use Manuela Venegas.
And Camacho.
Yeah.
It's a combination. And they do just kill some time. City with a throw-in. And Bene taking her time over this. Not happy with the option she has. And she throws it to a Brighton player, but Nordam knocking it out of play.
Still 4.5 minutes left this additional time.
Plus the 7 minutes as well. No long delays and no VAR. Yeah, I mean, Kankovic was down for like a minute.
And we had subs.
And we had goals and subs. But
that's not 7 minutes worth.
I mean, the ball was probably not in play for 7 minutes, but that doesn't mean we need 7 minutes of additional time.
No.
We're going to get to the point where every time the ball isn't in play, the clock stops. And it's just like these 3-hour-long games.
Yeah.
Kafaji robbed a possession. Here's Hemp. Can she get the shot away? Knocks it wide. Bene lifts it into the area. Not able to make anything happen. And McLaughlin will knock it clear now. That's out for a City throw-in. On the near side, Hasegawa to Yamashita. Hasegawa back to Ayaka Yamashita. Venegas wins the header. Rose battling away, and that's out for a City throw-in.
Brighton just doing enough at the moment.
Short poking it on. Here's Hemp. Lifts the ball in there. Fowler heading on and heading away from goal. And Enadozie is going for a wander. Is that ball going to run? No, it isn't. Now Enadozie trying to hold it, and it will be a corner.
Need to realise that. Enadozie.
I think she should have just launched it. I get what she was trying to do there, but you're in your own corner, trying to shield it out for a goal kick.
Well, I'm not really sure when she realised it was going to stop, but she just started kicking off. And give City a corner. I mean, Brighton haven't conceded a corner all season. This would be a cruel time to concede their first.
The City, the best side from set pieces in the division. Greenwood in towards the near post. And Ayaki Yamashita's header is saved by Enadozie. Almost there. The City goalkeeper being their saviour. And we've seen a centre-half up front, and now a goalkeeper having a header saved from a corner.
That would have been incredible.
Brilliant movement from Yamashita. What a stop from Enadozie.
Could have been so
That would have
special.
settled the goalkeeper debate
Yeah.
for the season.
Wow.
Actually headed home. And Dozy is going to take some time out of this game. Some sort of knock here of someone else. It's Madison Haley.
Well, and Dozy just allowed to do what she wants.
Yeah.
Stand there. But Yamashita, I mean, that would have been something special to get City's title charge back on track. But Haley will have to go off. 2 minutes then, if you account for the bit that they'll add on now for Haley being down. 2 minutes from, I mean, obviously it's a massive moment in the title race, but for Brighton, this is a monumental victory. To go alongside the win against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Great kick. Exactly what Endo's needs to do that.
Greenwood wins the header. Camacho brings it down. Now carrying it forward to Simmons, looking for Camacho. Cut out well by Rose. And now launched away. Nordam heading it forwards. Fowler plucking it out the air. Here is Hemp. Brilliant work from McLaughlin. Knocks it out of play. And that will be a Brighton throw-in. Much to the frustration. That's Greenwood.
Yeah, right decision. Hemp was the one who made a mess of it. And just ran it out of play on her own accord. And that will probably be that if Brighton can just hold this into the corner.
McLaughlin sends it up the line. Now Kafaji. That's out for a City goal kick.
They're going to get one more goal.
Got to move the ball quickly. Yamashita, there was that injury. Rose bounced it back. Yamashita carrying forwards. We're into the 97th now. It's at the referee's discretion as to when to end this game. Obviously, Haley was down for a minute, though. Headed right back from Brighton, and Camacho will hold it up. Now to Haley. To Venegas. Carrying down the left-hand side. Holding the ball up brilliantly here. Manuela Venegas, a couple of ball rolls. Hasegawa wins it back, but it's Nordam who picks up on the loose ball. Olaslagers. Nice turn. And tries to knock it down the line. Hasegawa takes a touch on it, though. And that'll be a Brighton throw-in. And Venegas getting the fans down the far side to make some noise. A real entertainer. Venegas looking for the throw-in down the line. Sufficiently wasted time here. And Camacho battling away. Out for a City throw-in. Can they move it quickly? Bene looking down the line. Will launch it as far as she can. And that is the final whistle here at the Broadfield Stadium. Brighton 3, Manchester City 2. And City, the champions-elect, faltering at this stage. What was or could have been a 5-point gap once all the games in hand are played to Arsenal is now a 2-point gap. And that just keeps this title race going on a little bit longer. What a game of football. Firstly, thank you to Brighton and Manchester City, because that was a fantastic game of football. City, though, just unable to take their chances. Brighton, clinical when they got their opportunities. And a big 3 points for the Seagulls at home.
Yeah, massive win for Brighton in their bid to keep pushing and to cement a top half finish. And yet, continues their brilliant form. A big win against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, and now beating Manchester City in the WSL is huge for Vidosic and his side. For City, though, going to put a bit of pressure on them. If Arsenal remain perfect and win their 3 games in hand, that gap closes to 2 points, and suddenly, with 2 games to go, it's still in City's hands, but there would be a bit of pressure on their WSL crown. But yeah, massive moment for City. They cannot allow this result to rock the boat for the last 2 games. Still got to be business as usual, and you'd expect it to be, but it adds a bit of unwanted jeopardy. And yeah, for Brighton, what a result, what a performance, and yeah, a brilliant game of football.
Yeah, and I think this is... I mean, I don't have any doubt about City winning this title still. I think, you know, with West Ham and Liverpool remaining, if they had an Arsenal in there, then, you know, what a game that would be. But yeah. I don't think there's any... I still don't have any doubt about them winning this title, but it does just make things a little bit more difficult. It does just make things a little bit more nervy in those games, and particularly, you know, West Ham coming up on the final day. If Leicester get a result in the next few weeks, and West Ham need to get something on the final day, they're not going to roll over and let City beat them. Liverpool, they've got aspirations of climbing up the table. They're in that conversation now for mid-table. Yeah, I don't think teams are gonna roll over for them. City, they've still got to get through those final 2 games. Of course, with that said, Arsenal have 5 matches still to play this season. The idea that they've got to win all of them really seems really difficult. Within that's 7 matches with the Champions League in there, 8 if they beat Lyonès. That's a lot of games to play in the next 4 weeks. So I think it's way too difficult for them to pull it off. But it does make things a little bit more nervy. For Brighton, fantastic performance today. A huge result for them as well. They opened a 3-point gap back to London City, and that was their game in hand. Obviously, they've still got that game in hand against Arsenal. When everyone else plays this weekend, they'll go back 1 behind in terms of games. But they want to finish top half, Brighton. This is a great result for that. But on City, Harry, a bit wobble.
Yeah, bit of a wobble. I think that's a very telling, but a very positive post-match huddle there. Andre Yeglert is... he's obviously will be frustrated with the result, but that looked like a very calm post-match team talk, which is exactly what those players need at this moment. They don't need to be berated or shouted at. Of course, there'll be criticisms and they'll work on that in training, but that is positive from Yegler. It's very much clearly a message of that's a slip-up, but it's still in our hands. Let's not panic, let's not overreact, and let's make sure we get this title over the line. But yeah, work to do now for City, but it's a wobble, and that will worry them because of what we saw 2 years ago. But they've got to make sure that they dig in, don't allow that to get the better of them, and that they just make sure that they see this title out now with 2 games to go.
Yeah, Sharon says, does this game and the Birmingham City game concern you? Not particularly. They concern me more when you look at next season, and when we're thinking about how does this City side evolve. There are frailties in their system, which means that teams that execute their game plan against them will find ways to win.
Yeah.
And City have been so good this season, but there have been games where perhaps they haven't been 100%. They have had sticky moments. I think back to obviously the draw with Aston Villa, the narrow wins over Liverpool, over London City. They've had too many of those games this season where they've just about got it over the line. And next season, you would expect they would find it more difficult against some of the top sides. I think United rolled over them a bit too easily.
Yeah.
Chelsea, obviously, the Etihad was way too easy, and you wouldn't expect that to happen next season. So those sort of things do start to become a bit concerning. But in the context of this season, I wouldn't be too concerned. I think the games they've got left, the size they've got to play, they should beat both of them. They should win the title. I also don't see Arsenal winning all their matches, or Chelsea winning all their games left and overturning 20 goals, and City not picking up a single point in the last 2 games of the season. So yeah, I just think they'll find a way now, Man City. But yeah, it's tight. It certainly is. It certainly is tight, and yeah, they've just got to win their games. That's all they've got to focus on.
Yeah.
They have got 3 matches at the moment left to play this season. Could be 4. Arsenal have 7 or 8. That has to be what they focus on. They've just got to win their games, get the points themselves, and not worry about what anyone else is doing.
Yeah, exactly that. If Arsenal manage to win 7 games in 21 days, then fair play to them. That's probably, that form is kind of worthy of being in the title fight. But yeah, I don't see a realistic world where any football club would do that with that kind of intensity. So City, yeah, they should be absolutely fine. But all these conversations need to be shut out inside. Again, I mentioned earlier the outside noise. City cannot allow that to leak into the dressing room. They've got to make sure they keep their heads switched on and make sure they're all pulling in the same direction to claim that title without any massive problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's where we'll round things up. We'll be talking about that more this Thursday. Remember, the next 2 weeks, our WSL weekend rounds won't be on the Monday. They'll be on the Thursday to accommodate for the fact that Arsenal are playing loads and loads of matches. And so, yeah, look out for that on Thursday. We'll talk about all the action across this WSL game week, the 5 games this weekend, and then that Arsenal-Leicester City game on Wednesday night. Look out for, in 3 hours' time, back with the Champions League semi-finals. Cannot wait. Big matches today and tomorrow. Join us in 3 hours' time as Barcelona take on Bayern Munich. Cannot wait. I love Champions League football. Oh yeah, I'm very excited. Join us for that at 5 o'clock. Kickoff at 5:15 UK time. Very much looking forward to that one. Until then, though, enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon, whatever you're going to be doing, and whether it is rejoicing if you're a Brighton fan or fuming if you're a City fan. And join us back here at 5 o'clock for that Champions League semi-final. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.